He's ashamed of some members of the court
for not having the courage to do what's right for our country.
The president promising to come up with other ways to impose tariffs, which he says help broker peace deals. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tells Fox's Will Cain the ruling is a loss for the American people.
Think to this time last year when President Trump put on the fentanyl tariffs against Mexico, Canada, China for the precursor chemicals, and then we saw a rapid decline in fentanyl deaths. If that's not an emergency authority, what was?
California Governor Gavin Newsom is calling on the Trump administration to immediately issue refund checks with interest to American families and businesses. And President Trump again warning Iran to come to the table after 2 rounds of nuclear talks, but telling reporters this morning he felt bad for the Iranian people as the U.S. military assets mobilized near the Middle East.
More than 120 warplanes have arrived in recent days, including dozens of F-15s, F-35s, AWACS, KC-135 refuelers, and cargo planes loaded with military equipment. In fact, in the past few hours, the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier strike group passed through the Strait of Gibraltar at the mouth of the Mediterranean after stopping outside the strait for resupply after crossing the Atlantic.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin in Washington. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to travel to Israel next week to update Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the negotiations. Wall Street kept calm after the tariff ruling and stocks finished higher. The Dow added 230 points. The Nasdaq up 203, the S&P plus 47. America is listening to Fox News.
Hello. Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos made it affordable to get life insurance. Signing up was fast and 100% online. I knew that I could pay our mortgage and have food in the fridge. I could focus on my kids. No one ever tells you how much you're going to depend on that policy. I am so grateful we had coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com, video and audio. We got a lot to get to this hour, including a monkey that has stolen my heart. An adorable monkey that's been rejected, like I have been as a conservative in Seattle, stole my heart. We're going to get into that and so much more. But the levee has broken. That is what's trending, brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? Legal.
The Supreme Court just delivered a reminder to the White House that you don't get to move unilaterally in this direction. It is considered a tax. It was a 6-3 decision. The Supreme Court struck down President Trump's tariff increases imposed under emergency powers. The court said essentially that the executive branch has overstepped its constitutional authority by effectively levying taxes without Congress. Shannon Bream, Fox News' chief legal correspondent, my BFF. I love Shannon. She was on this morning to explain some of the details of this ruling, but really how there's been some relief from some closest to the president, some of his close allies.
There's also the political impact on the GOP side. This has been mentioned a little bit. We all know members that we've talked to on the GOP side of the aisle who are silently, quietly breathing a sigh of relief. There have been Republicans on Capitol Hill who have voted against some of the president's tariffs. They think it's actually hurt the economy and hurts their ability to go out and make the argument that this president is working to make things more affordable. So some of them quietly happy that this will maybe reset the markets and some of what we're seeing in our economic data.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the decision saying that the, quote, framers gave tariff power to Congress alone, notwithstanding the obvious foreign affairs implications of tariffs. The three who dissented were Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, and Justice Sam Alito. And obviously, the president was not particularly pleased with some of the justices today, calling them disloyal, which I think is an inappropriate criticism of these justices who voted alongside the liberals. So we're talking about John Roberts, we're talking about Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch. No one can accuse two of those three as being liberals. I get why there's criticism of John Roberts, but he is a very strict adherent to the Constitution. It was not a surprise that he decided to go in this direction. And frankly, it wasn't a surprise with Barrett or Gorsuch, who are both very, 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 very conservative. And there's a reason why you're hearing a lot of conservatives today taking the position that this was the right move. If anything, it should have been 9-0. And it's not a repudiation of the strategy per se. There are obviously some people who disagree with the strategy of utilizing tariffs the way the president has. There are obviously a lot of people who support the strategy, and there are a lot of people who are somewhere in between. But this court case, this ruling, has nothing to do with whether or not it's a wise strategy. It's whether or not the president, or really the executive, went too far in instituting the tariffs. And that's really all that this is about. Jonathan Turley is the George Washington University professor of law, and he points out a few things. Number one, there was a strong argument to be made if you do not consider this a tax. And in the world in which it is considered a tax, and we kind of knew that at least Justice Roberts was going in that direction, because as I listened to the actual oral arguments a few months ago, it was clear that he called it a tax, I think, within his first question. It might have been his second question, his first or second question. He referred to it as a tax. In that context, it's harder to defend.
I thought that the administration did a terrific job in front of the Supreme Court. They could not have argued this case better, in my view. But you can't really escape that language. And right out of the bat, when that oral argument began, the Chief Justice John Roberts said, this is a tax. And you could almost hear the administration gulping, because that's not what they wanted the justices to take from their argument.
And it was certainly a novel argument, I think, that the Team Trump was trying to make. But the reality is, this ruling doesn't kill all tariffs. In fact, the president just pushed a 10% global tariff. I don't know where that ends up going, but as Turley pointed out, there are still other ways to impose tariffs.
The administration has other tools in its toolbox. It can actually impose tariffs under other statutes. So this night is hardly over for the administration when it comes to tariffs.
And he's 100% correct on that. He is 100% correct on that. The reality is there are still other ways to go about your tariffs. And look, we should all want, again, regardless of whether or not we support the strategy of tariffs, and I think arguments can be made on either side, we all want to make sure that whomever is the president doesn't extend the power of the executive branch. We all, as conservatives, should want that to be, frankly, as Americans, we should want that to be put in check as best as we can. That's the reality. So the president's going to have to figure out another way around this particular ruling if he wants to impose his tariffs. And remember, as Turley just pointed out, there are different avenues that were not explored in this Supreme Court case. And by the way, what was also not explored in this case was what to do with the money that has already been collected. And that was part of, I believe it was Brett Kavanaugh in his dissent, one of the dissents, pointed out that the ruling doesn't address that at all. And so we've seen some companies, Costco is amongst them, saying we want a refund on the tariffs that we've had to pay. The government has to pay us back. Well, the government's going to come back and say, no, we don't. We don't have to do that. There was nothing in this ruling that tells us that. I imagine there are going to be other countries that are going to try to also collect, and it becomes a political problem that the Supreme Court in its ruling decided to create. And, I don't know if they thought that might have been overstepping their duty in saying anything about the potential for refunds or not, but they did end up creating this mess. The president earlier today spoke at a press conference.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices.
Now, again, I understand his criticism. I never think it's wise to criticize the Supreme Court when you're the sitting president and have a bunch of cases in front of them. I don't think any of them will react per se to, but you just don't even want to test that. You just don't. And you also don't want to encourage in a roundabout way, in an indirect way, people to go ahead and start criticizing and going maybe a little bit overboard in intimidation of the Supreme Court justices. Look, Alito is my favorite, but Gorsuch is my close number two. And so he sided with the liberal side on this because he truly believes legally that was the better argument to be made. And I trust them on this. It is curious the difference between how conservatives react to this and liberals react to this, right? So we had for the longest time, anytime you had a Supreme Court decision that would come down against a progressive idea, we would hear from the left telling us that this is proof positive that the court is filled with fascists, they're undemocratic, they are Trump lackeys, they are in desperate need of not just reform, but dismantling and then rebuilding. You had the likes of Pramila Jayapal, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, all these folks on the radical left saying we need to essentially stack the court so that we can get the right decision, quote unquote, the right decision. And yet today, they're all celebrating this. They're like, oh, it shows you that the court is not going to be the lackeys of the Trump administration. Oh, all of a sudden you like them. All of a sudden it's good. Now, Republicans generally will say that was a bad argument. That was a bad decision. And maybe even lean into saying, oh, he's a rhino or whatever it is. But you don't hear, I haven't seen a single conservative out there saying, oh, this is proof positive. We need more justices on that court. We got to stack the court with more conservative justices. No one's saying that. There's just an honest difference of opinion. And again, I'll point you to AOC, who back in 2023, when the Biden administration was pushing for a certain case outcome and the Supreme Court rejected this was around access to the abortion pill or how it would be classified. And this was not the only case. I mean, we had the case including the repaying of student loans that the Republicans on the court said, get out of here. This is a ridiculous decision by the Biden administration. AOC was out there on CNN saying, oh, guess what we should be doing? We should just ignore the ruling.
There has been thought, I believe, given to this. Senator Ron Wyden has already issued statements, for example, advising what we should do in a situation like this, which I concur, which is that I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. I think that we, the courts have the legitimacy and they rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And what they are currently doing is engaged in an unprecedented and dramatic erosion of the legitimacy of the courts.
No, see, that's what actually AOC is trying to do here. But again, listen to her back in 2023. We should just simply ignore the court. And then today, these same voices who tell us to ignore the court or to pack the court get upset with Donald Trump for criticizing the justices. Again, I don't think he should be criticizing them. I understand why he is. I understand why he's upset. I don't think he should be criticizing them. However, I'm consistent. People like AOC are not. They're going to, oh, this is outrageous. Oh, my God, this is nothing short of intimidation. Says the people who says we should just ignore the rulings we don't like. Show me the consistency here from the left. It doesn't exist. And they're so shameless about it. They're so shameless. What this fully means, we don't even know. We do not know. Not yet. And we'll figure it out. There have been a lot of Republicans who've pointed out, you heard it from Shannon Bream at the top, there are a lot of people who are sort of breathing a secret sigh of relief. And this could end up weirdly helping Donald Trump, just the timing of it. I mean, you stop any of the tariffs. Let's say that the tariffs have had a horrible effect on the economy, and without it, the economy is going to boom even more than it already is. Okay, that's really good for President Trump. Supreme Court might have just saved the Republicans heading into the midterms, because we're going to feel that relatively quickly if that is in fact the truth. We'll continue keeping an eye on this, and we'll have more to say throughout the show. But let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Crime.
Light rail service was again disrupted earlier today, this time because of bad guys stealing the part of it that actually allows it to connect to the power, and they took out the copper lines.
Yeah, you can't take those out.
Can't do that. And yet that's what happened yet again. Service was eventually restored on the one line. I haven't seen, as of the last hour or so, any update on the second line, or the 2 line has not come back online yet. So we don't know exactly when that's going to be back. We do know that they say, according to Seattle Times, damage to the overhead contact system on the 2 line has stopped trains from traveling between Overlake and downtown Redmond stations, according to a spokesperson. The issue occurred a little bit after 9 o'clock or so last night, and that's when the crews began their initial repairs. Until late Friday morning, trains weren't running between the Federal Way and Engle Lake stations on the 1 line. So this, you can argue on the 2 line, the copper theft, which has been happening a few times in Federal Way, but, impacting the Redmond station to Overlake. No one takes light rail on the Greater East Side yet. It doesn't go anywhere.
Not a single one.
I think if you count the staff who are on board, you got one.
And that's the driver?
No one's actually taking that. But the other one, people do, in fact, take. And for that to be down for, even if it wasn't down for that long in the grand scheme of things, it's just not good. But this is just, again, this is such a bad look. We've had copper theft for years. Copper is being stolen because they could sell it for a lot of money. Precious metals are going for a really high value. And unfortunately, you've got the copper wiring that's pretty much out in the open and is not fully secure. And so it's really easy for thieves to go out and steal. This is not the first time. This happened on the southern stretch of the 1 line on February 11th. Remember what happened on February 11th? Remember what big day that was?
February 11th?
The parade.
Yeah, it's when the Seahawks took the championship parade.
There you go.
And all the drones.
People actually wanted to probably take light rail into downtown Seattle.
Oh, I saw
because of all the traffic.
It was like packed like sardines.
Yeah, it was insane. And so then you had this happen at that point. I mean, it is life in Seattle right now. And that's just terrifying. And it's going to happen again. So if anyone's like, oh my God, this is so crazy, don't worry. Next week it'll happen again. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Your health.
I have never heard of something called influenza D, the flu virus, flu D. I've never heard of that. And they say, according to study finds, since its discovery in 2011, this flu strain has stuck to cattle and pigs, staying off the human health radar. So that obviously makes sense, unless you're a farmer, I suppose, probably not going to follow this all that much. But they say there's a new study that has come out that says it might have been quietly slipping into the human population this entire time without people even realizing it. They're calling it a silent infection. They say, yes, it's been in animals primarily. However, they started to detect it in farm workers. And they say it's been showing up in antibody tests, showing that human infections cause few or no symptoms at all. So you might not even know that you have flu D. They say lab tests show the virus replicates efficiently in human lung cells, airway cultures, and lung tissue with minimal immune resistance. It suppresses early immune alarms within the body, which is why you're not feeling any of the symptoms, allowing it to establish infection before the body is able to mount its natural defenses, which means you can start not just getting sick, but you could be spreading this virus without any clue whatsoever. And by the time you realize you have it, you're already too far gone and the infection is fully set. They say contact and airborne spread documented in ferrets and other mammals with the virus infecting multiple species while causing minimal symptoms has been noted. They're seeing this now in hospitals and airport air. They've done some, random sampling of the air in both of those locations. Generally, this is across the country, and they say they've been able to find it. The environmental findings match up with direct evidence of human infection, studyfinds.org points out. Previous research has confirmed viral genetic material in nasal washes from a swine worker, strongly suggesting the virus can infect people. Surveillance studies consistently find influenza D antibodies in cattle workers and pig handlers, indicating that exposure and infection happen more often than anyone realized. And they say the whole silent spread aspect of this is the real danger here, in that, again, you don't know that you're sick and you're spreading it because you're symptom-free at the beginning. At some point, though, obviously, you're not symptom-free anymore, and it does catch up with you. But again, it seems to me that this is one of those cases where it still seems relatively rare, but reason for all of us to panic and not go outside. I'm going to institute immediately a 50-foot rule. And I'm not going to allow people to make eye contact with me or talk to me at all. And I'm not going to check in on my neighbors.
Such a nice man.
I'm just leave me alone. I mean, what are we supposed to do with information about a stealth virus? What is my takeaway from this?
It seemed more,
other than just being freaked out.
It's more harmful to know about something that you can't
100%.
see or detect than not know about it.
Come back and tell me when there's something I can do. For now, it's just the flu. Knock on wood, I haven't been sick with the flu, frankly, since COVID. I still haven't had COVID, knock on wood. So, maybe I'm immune to all of this stuff and I'm just antisocial and want another excuse to stay away from people. But when you tell me that there's some sort of silent disease out there, silent virus out there, okay. When it starts shouting, let me know, I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And I constantly see stories like this, maybe not as dramatic, but I constantly see stories of health news. I used to do a segment on our sister station when I was there called Health News You Can't Use. And this is the kind of health news you can't use. They tell you something, but what are you supposed to do about it? Literally nothing. Because anything that they can tell you to do to protect yourself against the silent flu virus is the same thing they would tell you to do to protect yourself against the normal, not silent flu virus, which you're either choosing to do or you're choosing not to do. Washing your hands frequently, not touching, gross surfaces, things like that. And you're either hyper aware of that and it's part of your daily routine, or you don't care and you're going to risk it, or you don't really mind because you're generally healthy. And so if the virus were to get into your system, if you even feel it at that point, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And right now, again, knock on wood, I kind of find myself in that spot of just generally being healthy.
You're just built different.
Maybe. I used to get sick all the. It's funny though. The only time I get sick is not an illness like a virus or something like this. If I'm really tired, I get very nauseous. And it's funny because this morning, just from being tired. Now I have to be really tired. It can't just be, I got, a rough 7-8 hours of sleep and I tossed and turned kind of thing. I'm saying if I get 4 hours of sleep, I will be viciously ill and I will projectile vomit everywhere. And that sometimes happens when I'm traveling like to New York because my schedule is all screwed up. And despite me going to bed at a reasonable time, East Coast time, it's still late and my mornings are different. And so I start to get really sick the later it is in the day. And why do I go to New York? Because I'm doing late night CNN debate. And so there was a time, the first time I was in New York for them, I almost confused it and thought I was getting nervous, but I don't get nervous for doing I don't get nervous very often. And I realized how tired I was, and boy, did I just get hit with a wave of nausea. And the thing that helped actually was I took this little shot of ketones, which is how your brain is fueled, or it prefers that as fuel, and some coffee, and I was good to go in just a few moments. It just went away.
How close were you to projectile vomiting
I was very
on the
close.
people that were interviewing?
Well, I didn't get to. I felt better once I got seated because I had just taken all the stuff. But I was in the green room. I was like, oh, God. I do not feel so well.
Many great athletes and performers throw up before they go out and compete.
But the thing is, I wouldn't have had anything to throw up because I didn't eat.
Oh, it'd be dry heaving?
It would. That's what it was. It was just like, yeah. I felt like that for like 30 minutes. It was really bad. But then when I stopped being tired, it went away. This morning, I didn't have a good night's sleep last night, which is super rare. I don't know what happened. I think it was the temperature in my apartment was a little off last night because I left the heater on because it was freezing. And so I woke up super tired, which never happens. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, it feels so good. And D'Artagnan, my dog, I don't think we talked about this. I adopted a dog. When he knows I feel nauseous, he will hide in the closet. He'll just
cowers in fear.
He just goes into the closet. He's like, I don't want any of your drama. I don't want to hear you dry heaving and make weird noises. Just leave me out of this. That happened this morning. And then it went away once I had my coffee. Over the years, Sunset's warranty protection for life has paid over $6 million in warranty claims because they value the long-term relationships with their customers. Stop by for Sunset Auto Family for a complimentary warranty health check. Nothing's worse than a void warranty when you need it the most. Just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. When we come back, a stupid, adorable monkey has stolen my heart. We're going to get into that and more on the Jason Rantz Show.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo. Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Homeowners, stop what you're doing right now and listen up, because Puget Sound Energy has new rebates that have never been this high. If insufficient insulation or no insulation at all in your crawl space or attic are impacting your energy bills, now's the time to get your free inspection from Northwest Crawl Space Services, because these PSC rebates could pay for up to 95% of your project. And that could mean thousands of dollars in savings on your job. But make sure you hire a crawl space company that's PSC certified, because not every company can offer these rebates. Don't miss out. Call today, and the team from Northwest Crawl Space Services are happy to give you a free energy savings consultation. Northwest Crawl Space Services will get rid of the critters, re-insulate your home, and hook you up with big-time savings and PSC rebates. Remember, these guys can solve any crawl space or attic problem, no exceptions. See if you qualify for savings from PSC. Go to nwcrawlspace.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all three like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
Check out the all-new SeattleRed.com.
This is not just a Seattle issue.
Finally, conservatives in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest have a home dedicated to local news.
You could have the same exact conversation in Everett or Tacoma.
Conservative analysis and opinion, original video content, and so much more. SeattleRed.com is a new experience for Seattle's conservative movement.
It's kind of a big deal for the future of the Pacific Northwest, really.
Visit the all-new SeattleRed.com.
This hour of the Jason Rantz Show is brought to you by General Transmission Repair.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Friday afternoon. Like what appears to be most of the world, I am taken by this adorable baby monkey named Punch in Japan.
His name is Punch.
It's Punch-kun, but everyone calls him Punch. And I didn't even realize what was going on until last night. I was up a little bit past my bedtime. It was almost 10 o'clock, and I was on Instagram. And I kept seeing, all of a sudden, my feed was filled with this little monkey that was rejected by its mother and all the other people in its little monkey troop. And so the caretakers at the zoo gave him a monkey doll, like a big stuffed animal. And he now treats the stuffed animal like it's his mom and dad. And it's the most adorable monkey I've ever seen. Like, baby monkeys are so cute. When they get older, they're ugly. They're kind of like cats. Kittens are adorable. And then they become cats. You're like, I don't really like you. But this thing is so delightful. And recently, the video of it getting dragged by one member of the troop, and it looked painful, started to go viral. And then everyone was all like, oh, this is so sad. And then it like goes up to this little doll again, this little stuffed animal. It's like, oh, it's so cute again. And it's just an emotional roller coaster. Now, it's at the Ichikawa City Zoo in Japan. And I learned he was born. I did a deep dive into this monkey, and I took some notes. I was like, I want to know everything about this monkey. It was born on July 26th. And it was abandoned by its mother shortly after his birth. He was hand-reared by the zoo staff. But they say because he essentially lacked maternal contact, they had to give him something to emotionally help this little monkey grow. And so they gave it a large orangutan stuffed toy. And he clings to this thing. It's kind of like my dog, Did we talk about this? I got a dog a couple years ago.
I don't think we did.
So I bought him a 6-foot-long lion stuffed animal, and it's thin, so you can almost tie it in knots. He takes this toy everywhere. He's absolutely in love with it. And that's how this little Punch guy treats it. It's an IKEA toy, apparently. I did not realize that. And there's a bunch of videos now that have gone viral, but him being dragged by another monkey drew a lot of attention. And they saw this as bullying. Like, look what they're doing to this adorable little monkey. But the zoo put out a statement a few hours ago, like 6 hours ago or so, saying, whoa. y'all don't understand how monkeys act. They say this is not bullying. They say that this was part of a normal social dynamic as Punch continues integrating with the larger group of monkeys. And the zookeepers say the adult monkey was probably disciplining little Punch for doing something that is not okay amongst the little snooty monkey group. They're like, this is how monkeys act, essentially, and you're all new to monkeys, and we understand why you might think that this was bullying. The reality is he wasn't being bullied. This is totally normal. This is what monkeys do. It's just like saying, oh, look at that dog sniffing the butt of that other dog. Teach it some manners. No, that's what they normally do, is basically what they're saying. But they do say he's still socializing and he's remaining resilient. And there was actually video today that went viral that showed a different adult monkey, not the mom, grooming him. And then there was another one where he was hugging one and he wouldn't let go. He was like clinging to him. And it's the most adorable thing I've ever seen.
Felt real love again.
I did, until I realized he's still in a zoo, and zoos are jails for animals.
That's true. What happens when another monkey takes his monkey toy?
No one has done that. At least we haven't seen any of those videos.
I feel like that would start a fight.
100%. Because dogs will go after each other's toys all the time. In fact, D'Artagnan, did we talk about this? I got a dog a couple years ago. If he sees a ball at the dog park, he will go for the ball. It's not his. It's someone else's ball. But he wants it because others want it.
And he will fight for it.
And he will, actually. That's why I was like, oh, I don't like that there's a ball here. We're going to go a little bit earlier than normal before he gets out of hand. But that's what happens. And I'm actually kind of surprised that no one has caught any video at this point of the a fight over the orangutan. The other part of this, and I'm still workshopping this in my head. There's got to be a way for me to tie this monkey Punch and the toy to Washington Democrats, ruining life for all of us. I don't know how yet.
I feel like there's so many ways you could go with that.
There is, and I wrote down just some general thoughts. And I'm still kind of workshopping it because I feel like this could be really good and go viral. And I would love to go viral off of the backs of a viral monkey.
What was like your first thought? First thing that came to mind when you thought about comparing the two?
I said, this is the line I wrote for my blog. If you want a visual representation of Washington's millionaire tax, the clip of Punch being dragged through its home will do. So it's a visual representation.
I got one in my head.
Okay.
It's not as rhymey and classy.
Well, mine wasn't rhymey.
No, but yours was well thought out. Mine is like the toy itself is the Supreme Court, and AOC is the one hugging it when it agrees with her. And then if it gets taken away, it's like, I didn't want it anyway.
So Brady.
Uh-huh.
Filling in for Jackson.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's leave the comedy to the professional.
Ah, okay.
You were.
I tried to give it a stab just a little bit.
Yeah, you should workshop that. I get what you're saying.
And also, AOC is fun to make fun of.
No, I know. I just don't think it was very good. But I like where your head is at generally.
The initiative was there.
Yeah. Sometimes you should keep those ideas to yourself until they're fully fleshed out. And
you're not the first person to ever tell me this in my life.
Just throwing that out there. So there is an MMA fighter who's also gone viral, not for doing anything mean to a monkey. He went in what I'm told was a wildly hateful and sexist rant during a press conference. His name is Sean Strickland. Now that I'm looking at a photo of him, he looks familiar. He's a big Trump supporter, conservative guy. I don't follow UFC. You say he's a big star within the UFC family?
Yeah, he's more on the back half of his career. He's not like an up-and-coming young fighter. He's been in the game for a while, but yeah, he's very outspoken in his political beliefs. He's a good fighter, and he's always happy to speak his mind when a mic's there.
And he's a little on the older side, 34 years old.
Yeah.
But I guess it was announced that Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, would be returning to the octagon to fight each other. And so I guess he was asked about it, and he had a lot of thoughts.
Ronda and Gina, how Whoever thought about that, man, they're going to be half naked and might be making it a little better. Ronda Rousey can fight. That can fight. I think she lost a few fights to her ex, but can fight. I like Gina. She's like super conservative. She was hot. I was like a kid when she fought. I made after her once or twice back in the day, but dude, I was like 12? I was when I was 12. Nobody gives a f***. Maybe you put some oil on it, do some dollar bills. People might give a f***. No one gives a f*** about women's sports.
He's not entirely wrong. In the world of UFC, I think maybe there's a little bit more interest because I think the idea of two women beating each other up was just kind of novel. I don't know if that still exists, but Ronda Rousey was a big star for UFC. Gina Carano, if I'm being honest, didn't even know she was a fighter. I just knew her from the Disney stuff and her getting canceled. That was about it. But do you think the average person can name another female UFC fighter?
Miesha Tate.
You think the average person knows that? You think if I go outside right now and ask them to name a single female athlete in the world of UFC, they would name her?
Okay, we have a very interesting office for that kind of question. So I don't know if majority of people would be able to name another fighter outside of those two, but I think more people would.
He's not entirely wrong when it comes to that sport. Clearly, when it comes to like Olympic stuff, especially with yesterday's U.S. team winning in the hockey, there's more of an interest in women's sport. He's not entirely wrong. How he said it, I could understand why people called wildly sexist.
But not even close to his worst thing he said.
Yeah, I guess I was expecting something way worse when they said wildly sexist. It was sexist, but it wasn't wildly sexist. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text message. 1-800-465-8770. A lot of traffic this weekend. Like a lot of traffic. We'll explain when we return.
Cold is leaking and rats are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Lewis County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. Let's keep this really simple. If you're shopping for a new Chevy in Washington State, there's a reason one dealership keeps finishing #1 year after year. That's Sunset Chevrolet. Last year, Sunset Chevrolet finished as the top Chevy dealership in the entire state by sales volume. No gimmicks, no hype, just results. And that didn't happen by luck. It happened because customers keep coming back. You see, at Sunset Chevrolet, they offer warranty protection for life. Oil changes for life. They've got a massive inventory, and they've got a sales team that actually treats you like people, not transactions. What most dealers aren't going to say out loud is that Chevy pricing is essentially the same everywhere. MSRP is MSRP. The difference is not the vehicle, it's what happens after the sale. And that's why the Sunset Auto family keeps winning. That's why customers keep choosing them. So if you're already gonna buy a Chevy, why wouldn't you buy it from the dealership more Washington drivers trust than any other? Sunset Chevrolet in Sumner. #1 in Washington because they earned it. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. Online at sunsetautofamily.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free. free and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You know, retirement is supposed to be a time of rest and relaxation. But every week I get calls from seniors who are stressed out because their cost of living keeps going up. They love their home and they want to stay in it, but they're struggling with rising property taxes, monthly bills, and monthly mortgage payments if they have one. Hi, I'm Steve Teitler, owner of Best Mortgage, a local family-owned company. I specialize in the reverse mortgage, which allows seniors to tap into your home equity for tax-free cash to pay off your mortgage, pay off debts, and maybe put some extra money in the bank. A reverse mortgage is a great option for some people, but it's not right for everyone. So give me a call and you'll talk directly to me in person or over the phone for honest advice you can trust. Search for Best Mortgage on the web or call us at 425-649-6000. You'll talk to me, not an AI robot. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show right here on Seattle Red 770 AM, online at seattlered.com. We got a lot of lane reductions and closures over the weekend, which is made even worse by the fact that your gas costs keep going up. So you're spending more time in traffic and spending more money while spending more time in traffic. Joining me in studio, our friend Chris Sullivan from our sister station, Car News Radio. It's funny. Gas prices nationwide, I keep seeing stories about how gas is going down to near record levels. Not quite, but in recent memory, certainly. And then we're all reminded, not in Washington.
No, it's quite stark because there's an AM PM that I drive by every morning on my way to work. Right where I get on the freeway.
You drive through, you go into, and you get a bunch of gross snacks.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, not anymore.
I know,
but I drive by it every day, and I keep tracking. Today, the gas price went up again to $3.99 there, and that's 40 cents. The gas has gone up in just at that station. And so I was like, okay, it's time to check it out.
Greedy gas and oil companies.
Yeah, whose greed stops at our border. So I was like, okay, let's look in. I looked up the AAA numbers, and yeah, our gas prices have gone up basically 40 cents in a month when the national average has gone up about 9 or 10 cents, kind of stabilized there. So there's been a little raise in the
national number is $2.93,
but it's gone up 10 cents in the last month. And comparatively, ours has gone up 40, and I don't have the number of, what is it, 423 off 423? Is that what it is?
423 as of this morning.
Yeah, and again, that's just for you go around certain parts of Seattle and it's 5, and so that's the state average right there.
I would like $4.23.
Yeah. So we have the second highest gas prices per gallon in the country now, right behind California.
Yeah, usually Hawaii is able to pull ahead of us.
No, but they didn't.
Not this time.
Yeah, it was weird. So I looked at that, and
in fairness, as of this morning, they did.
Oh, did they? Okay, I wrote the article at 5:50 this morning.
They're at 440 as of around noon when I did last look.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. But still, it's the aberration. You look at, even Oregon is 40 cents cheaper than us. You look at Idaho. Idaho's like $1.15 behind us.
I made this point last week or earlier this week. Bob Pishu from the Mountain States Policy Institute was on, and I kind of made a joke of, when I was last in Spokane, I was like, I'm going to Coeur d'Alene already. I'm going to get gas there. And people on the east side of the state will go to Idaho, and we say Idaho gas is cheap. Idaho gas is higher than the national average.
True.
And to us, it's cheap.
Well, because it's still more than $1.
Exactly. Like right now, it's $2.96 in Idaho. $2.93 is the national average. But that is high in comparison to the rest of the country, and yet we're all celebrating like, let's go to Idaho for gas.
And it's been that way ever since the CCA, the Climate Commitment Act, went into effect. I remember on Seattle's Morning News, we had the governor on. He was expecting other hosts that day, and it was me and our good friend Colleen O'Brien. And I was like, dude, I didn't call him dude, but I was like, Governor, I'm going to Montana every weekend. It's $1.10 cheaper right across. He's like, oh, it's not that much. I go, I paid it yesterday. Yeah. Stop lying to me.
It's $2.75 right now.
Yeah, just like
like, the pennies a gallon. Dude, whatever. It's adding 40 to 55 cents a gallon. The Climate Commitment Act is. Our state gas tax is now up to 55 cents a gallon, and it will go up again in July because last year when they passed the transportation budget in the legislature, not only did they raise it 6 cents, but then they adjusted it saying going forward there will be an inflation-related bump no matter what every year. So it'll go up past 55 cents in July. So, yeah, I mean, we're paying way more than we should. And the frustrating thing is, and we can discuss policy all you want, but we have no idea if the almost $5 billion they've collected for the CCA has done anything.
It hasn't.
I mean,
no, we do know. It hasn't done anything.
No, and they won't release any figures or data for whatever reason.
No, we know why.
Well, you know why, but I would say because they say, I will tell you what they say, but we all read through it. It's like, come on.
How are they lying?
I mean, come on. Let's be realistic here. And who does this hurt the most? It hurts the lowest people in the economy who have the worst performing cars. They have to fill up more often. And it's just screwing people at the bottom of the society. But, we got to change the climate. And they can't tell us what they're doing with the money. It's frustrating in a big way.
But they can tell us that they want more money because remember, when we're talking about the income tax, they're also pulling from that for the CCA. We've got all these different taxes that are pulling more money into the CCA to do absolutely nothing and not show us any of the proof that they're doing anything
at all. And yet we can't use the CCA money for things that we need, like maintenance and preservation. We can't take money and put it towards the bridges that have failed, the bridges that are going to fail,
we have
the roads that are going to fail.
Almost 10% of our bridges in the state, according to WashDOT, a new study that they have put out, a new data point, is at the point of we need to fix this right now or it's just going to crumble.
Yeah.
Like we're that close to it.
Just like the Fairfax Bridge on the northwest corner of Mount Rainier. It just closed last year because they refused to pay for maintenance. And that's right on the legislature.
And of course, the amount of money we now owe as a direct result of that just to fix what's broken went up like 1,000-fold. It's like it's ridiculously expensive now, whereas before it was still expensive, but not anywhere close to where it was.
Yeah, and the legislature for 3 decades has underfunded maintenance and preservation every year by about $1 billion. That's a conscious decision to prioritize other things rather than the necessities. And we are basically paying for those decisions right now with the bridge there at Fairfax. And now the First Avenue South Bridge may be caught up in that as well because they're so concerned about the steel bridge deck. They've had to close 2 lanes on that just yesterday. And it could be weeks or months before they figure out what to do with that. It's disheartening to see how badly the money is managed or where the money is sent in Olympia when it comes to what we really need for transportation.
Well, that closure on the First Avenue South Bridge brings us into our next topic, right? I mean, over the weekend, there's still these emergency repairs. You've got 2 of the lanes that are closed, but that's not the only issue heading into this weekend. I mean, we expect just on that to extend into March.
At the minimum.
At a minimum of March 6th
Correct.
is what they told us, which means probably May 6th. And beyond that, I mean, that's causing significant problems.
Yeah, yesterday, as people were finding this out, it caused basically a 4-mile backup getting out of Burien. Once people realized it, they jumped onto I-5, so there was more traffic on northbound I-5. Today wasn't too bad. It was Friday light. And once they opened up the HOV lane to everybody, so now both lanes are accessible. I don't know why they didn't do that during yesterday morning's commute, but they did it yesterday. The HOV is open now for everybody, so half capacity basically going northbound, and that's going to have significant issues going forward until we figure this thing out.
We've got 405 in Bothell.
Oh, this is good.
Major shutdown.
Oh, this is
We've got
good.
all lanes of westbound 522 will be closed at the 405 interchange. And that's happening tonight.
Now, and this one is this weekend is barely the appetizer. This is barely the appetizer because tonight the westbound lanes of 522 are going to be closed at 405 through tomorrow. It's not a full closure, weekend closure, but what they're in the process of doing is tearing down all the flyover ramps that they closed there at that interchange.
Tonight at 8, by the way.
Yeah,
which means they'll start earlier.
Next week, it's going to be a full closure of 522 for the whole weekend. And then 2 weekends in March, 405 is going to be closed entirely for 2 full weekends because that flyover ramp goes over 405. So 2 weekends in March, quite possibly they're looking at the first 2. Right now it could change, but the whole 405. Now, if you're on northbound, I did a story on this at mynorthwest.com early in the week that has the detour route on this. If you're going northbound, you got it okay because you get off the freeway, then get right back on the freeway at 522. If you're going southbound, you have to get off at 527, go through Bothell, and then get over back to 405. That is basically going to shut Bothell down for those 2 weekends.
Almost like
you're not going to be able to get anywhere.
Well, it's almost like going through Duval to try to get around I-5 nightmare, but there's not really a real way to do that.
Yeah, so
you just make it worse for Duval.
Yeah, there were so many new, if you haven't driven it, there have been so many new little housing developments, stores, developments on that corridor south of 405 getting down into Bothell proper over the last 10 years. It's really built up. People are going to be stuck in their neighborhoods for those 2 weekends. This weekend's going to be, it's going to be terrible. Next weekend will be worse. And then after that, it's going to be disastrous. Yeah, it's going to be brutal.
Well, the good news is at least I-5 is doing fine. Oh, no.
That's doing great in the northbound direction. I'll tell you that. It's going faster than normal. And we're about a month. We're about 5 weeks into the months of hell, and I've started to notice things kind of level out. 405 now is much worse in the morning.
Yeah,
than
that's
I-5,
the leveling out.
People have chosen that.
Is that really leveling out?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's that, and then the southbound I-5 drive doesn't really start until about 145th. So people are going elsewhere, choosing different things, probably like my wife who's going to work an hour earlier now. And so they're doing different things, but it's kind of settled into that where coming away from Linwood on 405 is bumper to bumper, and then I-5 is really good, and then you get to 145th, and then it's bumper to bumper. So I think that's probably what we can expect for the next 5 months of this.
Well, isn't State Route 99 also close?
I think they might be doing some tunnel work tonight, kind of the annual thing. But that 99 during these closures on southbound I-5 during this has been backed up to Green Lake almost every morning too. So that hasn't been very pleasant either. Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, fun times. When are they creating teleportation? What is taking so long? Let's figure that out.
Well, I believe former President Obama talked about, oh, no, that was aliens.
That was aliens. Although maybe we can take their technology.
I don't see why not. Maybe teleportation's already available, and they just are keeping it from us. It'd be nice.
They're the worst, those aliens. Keeping good stuff away from us so
keeping
we can
it
get
away
out
from
of
us.
traffic.
But boy, they've given us cell phones and computers and all those other things that we
have aliens to blame for our social media addiction.
Yeah, let's blame everybody else for our own problems.
Go to mynorthwest.com/chokepoint and see if you want to read more about all of this nonsense from Chris Sullivan. Thanks for stopping by.
Anytime, Jason.
You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and I could see it in the mirror. I could feel it in my clothing fit. I needed to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe not a ton, but definitely some. This opportunity came up, and I was skeptical. Would it really be worth putting in the work to actually get the results? I wasn't sure. So I did a phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. We talked through the whole thing, and Adam and I decided, you know what, let's go for it, let's commit. And with that commitment has come amazing outcomes. We have lost a combined 40-plus pounds, and counting. There's a plan, you trust the process, you follow it, and the weight melts away. I can personally attest to how well this works. So find out for yourself. At the very least, set up a 15-minute phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. Go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com to find out more. eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/Tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastway, 33 BU Seattle.
He says he will find a way. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump vows to continue his tariff policy after the Supreme Court struck down his Liberation Day tariffs.
The president struck a defiant tone after a 6-3 Supreme Court ruling upended his wide-ranging tariff policy.
They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution.
Still, President Trump says the administration will use alternatives to the emergency tariffs he imposed, including setting a temporary 10% global tariff.
We're going forward. We will be able to take in more money, and there'll no longer be doubt, because there was always doubt.
President Trump has credited his use of tariffs for ending foreign conflicts and securing favorable trade deals for the U.S.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar tells Fox's Brett Baer while she supported tariffs in the past,
they used a sledgehammer here with this statute and have done great harm for farmers in my state. One said it was a perfect storm of ugly, how his soybean market has dried up.
And Senator Klobuchar said the chaos the tariffs have created has done damage to our economy. Investigators continue to run down leads as the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie is now in day 20.
Pima County 911 dispatch manager Cecilia Ochoa telling Fox about the tip call load since Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
It has slowed down a bit, but we get flurries of calls. The flurries happen after media releases or press conferences or a new piece of information has been released to the public.
Stressing investigators continue to comb through every tip.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, was last seen January 31st and reported missing the following day. America is listening to Fox News.
Here's the tale of Tina, searching up and down for decent GLP-1s, but got spun around.
Till GoodRx wrote in, hey, we got something new. GLP-1 prescriptions, all FDA approved.
Brand name meds, no flags that are red.
Clear pricing from the start. None of those hidden fees in your cart.
Delivered to your door or pick up same day. Darn tootin'.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
I'll put it to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app. Portland Public Schools is in some hot water. A civil complaint was filed with the federal government over misuse of funds. We'll give you those details when Sarah Parshall-Perry, Vice President and Legal Fellow over at Defending Education, stops by. Plus, Thurston County wants to grade your home's energy before letting you sell it. Hard pass on that. We'll get into those details and so much more. But first, thieves broke into a popular taco restaurant in Seattle. Just another day and another break-in. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
What's trending? Crime.
Crime in Seattle hasn't been random for a while. Yeah, we have random crime, but crime itself isn't random. It is predictable. And the only people surprised seem to be the politicians who created this crime crisis to begin with. There's a taco restaurant in West Seattle. There's a taco restaurant in West Seattle that's become the latest victim of really bad policies. Fox 13 says thieves broke into a small, locally owned taco shop, smashing their way in, ransacking the business, and of course, leaving the owners to clean up the mess again. Because like so many other cases, this is not a case of a business getting hit for the first time. Unfortunately, we see businesses getting hit over and over and over again. And again, this was not some high-end corporate chain. This was not a Taco Bell with layers of insurance and teams that can handle this. This is a neighborhood restaurant. The kind of place you take your kids to. The kind of place that survives because of regular customers, despite the tight margins. The name of the place is Fire Tacos. Erica Torres is one of the owners. She spoke with Fox 13.
I have something really difficult to share. We did come in and we did see that the door was broken into. Also, multiple cameras as well were broken.
Now, good news, bad news. Good news is they don't keep cash inside after hours, I think for some obvious reasons. Bad news, they did lose some sentimental items that were taken.
A lot of sentimental values were taken and a couple iPads. We don't carry cash here, so we always make sure we leave everything open so they can see that there's no cash here.
Yeah. So now they're dealing with the broken glass, the stolen iPads and whatnot, the lost revenue, that sinking feeling that this could happen again next week, because in Seattle it probably will. We've normalized this. Break-ins are treated like bad weather. You know, we hear oftentimes people say, it's just part of doing business in a big city. All big cities have crime. Yeah, we got it. Board up the windows, file the police report, start a GoFundMe, and wait for the next smash and grab to happen. That's what happens. And in this case, it seems like they knew the thieves knew what they were doing, knew what they were going for.
It seemed like they were here for 3 minutes and they went exactly where they had to go.
Okay. Don't know what that means other than they either cased the joint or maybe there's some internal connection. I don't know. But I feel like we can ask the same question we've asked many times before, just maybe hoping this time we'll get an answer from left-wing politicians who are in charge. Why does this keep happening? I mean, I know why it keeps happening. I think most of you know why it keeps happening, but I'd love for some of the Democrats in charge to explain why this keeps happening. It's not because criminals are misunderstood. It's not because taco shops are oppressive. It's because the risk calculation for criminals in Seattle is laughably low. They look at this and say, the chances of me getting caught are slim, and if I were to get caught, the chances of me paying a price are slimmer. We've had for the last several years Democrats in charge downplaying property crime. They rebranded as some sort of symptom. They deprioritized enforcement. They cut proactive policing. They treated jail as a moral failure instead of a public safety tool. And the criminals all took notice. When you know the odds of getting caught are slim because we don't have enough Seattle police officers, or the odds of facing meaningful consequences are even slimmer because you know that the attorney's office, city attorney's office isn't, or I guess the prosecutor isn't going to go after you. And even if they did, you'll get a judge who's going to go easy on you. You act accordingly. You smash that window, you grab that register and iPad, and you're out before anyone even calls 911. And of course, it's the restaurant owner who eats the cost of all of this. I mean, the way to think about it, maybe this is why Democrats don't seem to mind these kinds of crimes. You can look at vandalism as a tax. It's a chaos tax. It's imposed on small businesses trying to survive in a city that claims to support them when they really don't. Insurance premiums go up if you have to go through insurance, which is why, by the way, why so many choose not to go through insurance companies. But you're going to probably have to implement some sort of security mechanism, so that cost is going to go up. Customers will find out what happened, so they're going to feel less safe. Obviously, you've got a bunch of businesses who say none of this is worth it anymore, and they end up closing shop. And when they close, politicians, they seem to act confused. They'll blame the Trump economy. They'll blame tariffs. What are you going to blame for now? They'll blame national trends. No, they should name the policy as the blame. You can't build a city around the idea that enforcement is optional. And then you act shocked when lawlessness becomes routine. This taco shop, Fire's Taco, deserved better. The workers there deserve better. The neighborhood deserved better. The customers deserve better. We all deserve better. But instead, we got another reminder that in Seattle, if you follow the rules, you're still on your own. If you break them, you're given the benefit of the doubt. You're given some sort of quote-unquote compassionate response. Because they're the real victims, the bad guys. Until we get serious about consequences, actual consequences, this cycle isn't going to stop. And the next boarded up storefront won't be a mystery. And it won't just be some shop in West Seattle. No. It's going to be your favorite shop. It'll be the result of choices. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
I swear, it will never not be amusing to me that John Fetterman has become the most reasonable Democrat in the Senate. And I will always also acknowledge I was wrong. When he was running, I said he was going to be a crazy liberal. And in fairness to me, he did give off that impression during the race, at least the parts where he was physically able to run. But this guy is yet again standing up against the lunacy in his own party. We told you yesterday that Patty Murray announced that she wasn't going to attend the State of the Union. Instead, she's going to post some garbage online. We know that other Democrats have chosen not to attend or will choose not to attend on Tuesday. We now can tell you that includes Ed Markey of Massachusetts, Jeff Merkley, of course, of Oregon, Chris Murphy, of course, of Connecticut, Tina Smith, Chris Van Hollen, Minnesota, Maryland. So the lawmakers are going to, perhaps all of them, just choose not to show up, which is a bad look. And I shouldn't say all of them because we know John Fetterman will be here. And he was on Jesse Waters last night to say it's just not a good look to skip the State of the Union.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to boycott it, that's really, you're up to it. But I just hope they don't do the kinds of things that some did last year. I mean, there's just no dignity if you have paddles, if you are yelling and saying those kind of things. I mean, you can agree or disagree on things, but if you're going to show up, just do it with dignity because, really need to respect the office. Yep. And now they're doing like a counter programming. And I mean, that's never going to go well. I mean, it's like, regardless who the president is, the counter never really lands and it's really kind of just doesn't compare.
He's absolutely right. He is 100% right. And it's silly that they're falling into this really dumb trap that they set themselves up for. They really have just set themselves up for this trap. They have to know that the American people don't look kindly from this for things like this, these kinds of stunts. And that's the truth when you get it from folks on the right as well. Like all of this is equally damning to whomever is responsible. When the Republicans pull stuff, and I can't remember, was it Joe Walsh? I can't remember his name. One of the members of Congress who screamed, "You lie," to President Barack Obama during his State of the Union. It was Joe Wilson, not Jim Walsh, not Joe Walsh, Joe Wilson. And this was one of those moments that even if you agreed that the president was lying, and he probably was, I don't remember what he was saying at the time. He probably was lying. But it just came off really poorly. It came off so poorly, even to people who would otherwise agree with the member of Congress. In fact, now I remember how it went, and it gave the moral high ground to the president. Listen to how it went.
There are also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This, too, is false. The reforms The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true.
And I love in the background, you've got Nancy Pelosi looking shocked. I can't believe someone would say that. This Nancy Pelosi who tore up the State of the Union address in spectacular fashion. And then Joe Biden, at the time vice president, just shaking his head. Oh, this is beyond the dignity of this office.
And one more misunderstanding I want to clear up. Under our plan, no federal dollars will be used to fund abortions, and federal conscience laws will remain in place.
So what ended up happening is now people not only heard a bad statement or heard the bad look from the congressman, but then they also heard the follow-up lie from Obama. So it just highlighted his lie, but it wasn't perceived as a lie. It just was perceived as reasonable. And he didn't lose his temper there, Obama, the same way last year Trump didn't lose his temper during the joint address. With Al Green out there trying to cause all sorts of problems, had to get booted from. It is a bad look. It's a bad look when Republicans do it. It's a bad look when Democrats do it. And it is a disrespect to the office, to the institution, which the Democrats pretend that they are champions for. In fact, they're the ones who say it's Donald Trump who tries to destroy our institutions. Just give it a rest. But again, John Fetterman is the one who comes off as normal here. And he'll act during the State of the Union speech the way that you expect a Democrat to. He'll clap and stand, I guess, when he hears something he likes, and he won't when he doesn't hear something he likes. But the Democrats, the ones who attend, and I'm guessing the majority of them will attend, they'll boo, they'll make a big deal, and they'll be put in a really tough spot when the president says, yes, we just deported a criminal illegal immigrant who committed a rape against a child, and then they're going to have to boo. Makes them look like fools. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in the classroom?
There's a story in The Hill that I want to cheer on because hundreds of students across the country have either received detention or suspension after they walked out of classroom to protest ICE. And I don't know of any in Washington, or at least in Western Washington, in which this happened. But we can tell you around the country, there were plenty of schools that said, yeah, no, we're not doing this. We're not okay with this. We're not okay with walkouts, period. Doesn't matter what it is you're complaining about. But they say that not only is this dangerous because, they're leaving campus and they're supposed to be in the care of the adults at the school district, but it's a slippery slope of when you're going to say no to something versus when you're going to say okay to something. Because you mean to tell me that then you say yes to these kinds of protests, don't you have to say yes to the next one? Now, again, in the Seattle area, no, they'll judge it based on the politics of it. But there's superintendents all around the state that said, or around the country saying, we're not okay with this. And one of them is Oklahoma. They don't mess around there. They don't mess around at all. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt just tweeted out earlier today, I applaud Mustang Superintendent Dr. Charles Bradley for suspending 122 students who walked out of class to protest. Young Oklahomans, free speech is sacred, but truancy robs your future. Stay in school, build schools, and make your voice heard responsibly. If you want to make your voices heard, you can go ahead and do your protest. You can do it after class. You can do it during your lunch break if you're allowed to go off campus. You can do it on a weekend. They choose not to because these students really want to just get out of class. And some of them found out the hard way that joining one of these silly kinds of movements because you, one, think it's cool or two, think it's fun to get out of class won't pay off. They won't pay off for you. Again, the big caveat, unless you're in Seattle or Portland or San Francisco. But there was one student who participated in one of the walkouts out of Tampa, Florida, speaking to one of the local media outlets out there, said that he told his mom has some great friends and they worked hard every day and they unfortunately got deported for no reason. I feel bad for that student who has no clue what it is he or she is talking about. He has no idea why the people ended up getting deported. I'll point out, yesterday we talked about this on the show. I've got the write-up at seattlered.com. King 5 does another one of their stories about someone who, in this case, a quote-unquote Spokane mom who was deported, and their story didn't tell you the why. just said, oh, no, had a restraining order this one time, but that got rescinded. That was it. And, of course, I reached out to ICE and I found out that this person who was a UK national, the quote-unquote Spokane mom, she has 5 assault convictions. 5 convictions, not charges, convictions, according to ICE. Daily Mail picked up on the story. This time they actually credited me. And they say there's even more than that. They had also a conviction, I believe they said, for criminal trespass. And they also called out King 5 for their stuff. These kids, they hear bad news coverage or these reimagining of what actually happened from people that they trust. They might be well-intentioned, but they're not giving you the real information. And so they get these preconceived notions about what's going on, and then they go ahead and walk out of class. Now, if it turns out that those people who got deported for quote-unquote no reason were murderers or have 10 assault charges, doesn't that change the story a little bit? I don't know if that student is too far gone. Hopefully they're not. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Legal.
The United States Department of Education, they are now investigating the Portland Public School District after a civil rights complaint alleged that their Center for Black Student Excellence unlawfully prioritized one race over another. Really, one over many others. Joining me on the line to discuss is the Vice President and Legal Fellow at the Defending Education Organization. Wonderful group, Sarah Parshall-Perry. Sarah, thank you so much. You're the one who filed this. Take us through the complaint.
Yeah, indeed I did. Well, we discovered actually that there was something going on in Portland that, to quote a little bit of Hamlet, is rotten. And so we decided to do sort of our own FOIA investigation. We determined that a $1.2 billion with a B dollar bond was going toward the Center for Black Student Excellence. In fact, that included a $16 million purchase for a facility that will require no fewer than $25 million in adjusted renovations and those types of work that will bring it up to speed, and it will not be used for any students other than that one race. Now, here's why this is particularly problematic. It's not just bad fiscal responsibility. We understand that. In fact, they're running in Portland at a $50 million deficit for this fiscal year in 2026. We know it's also both unconstitutional and a violation of civil rights law. It violates Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which guarantees that in any educational format that receives federal funding, you should receive a colorblind, value-neutral education. Portland seems to have forgotten that missive. It has dedicated millions in resources to this one program. And what I think for me is the cherry on top is that the students who are in Portland, 2 other minority groups of students, one of which is the actual Asian Pacific Islander group of students, and the other is the Native American group of students, both of whom have lower graduation rates and lower literacy rates than African American students. So we are very, very bothered by this.
Well, and just to be clear, like across the board, they seem to be failing their students. And, if you want to put money into any group to get them to a place of quote unquote excellence, they can't even say, look at the work that we've been doing. It's actually at least been helping. They can't even do that with this.
That's exactly it. And what we see is graduation rates hovering around 20%. That's inexcusable. Now, this correlates with what we've seen in the National Assessment of Education Progress rankings, the NAEP scores, or what is known colloquially as the nation's report cards. Those came out. The first COVID cohort was finally assessed. These were 12th graders whose scores were released last year, and these scores indicated that only 22% of 12th graders were numerate and only 35% were literate. We sent these young people off to college and into the workforce, 2/3 of them who could not perform basic mathematic functions or read on grade level. That should be the national scandal of our time. And unfortunately, Portland doesn't seem concerned by its numbers. It seems more concerned with playing politics with race.
Well, the superintendent doesn't seem particularly concerned at all. Dr. Kimberly Armstrong essentially just brushed this off, saying it's not surprising that the conversation continues at the federal level about how we operate our schools and what we prioritize. Of course, she seems to indicate that the reason why they're being prioritized is because the Trump administration, I guess, is evil and racist and wants to get in the way of black student excellence when, again, looking at the data shows that Dr. Armstrong is not doing a particularly good job in leading. Why do you think these school districts, whether it's Portland or elsewhere, keep trying to get away with this?
That's a great question. And really, it is sort of the $64,000 question, right? I think many of these school districts, and listen, we've seen it. I am a university trustee. Nikki Neely, who's the president of our organization, is a university trustee. We have been told in meetings, continue your diversity work. The Department of Education can't catch us all. So I do think that there is a sense that these local administrators, the LEAs, local education associations, and their administrators, these are principals, they're superintendents of public instruction, they're school board members, they don't believe that the long arm of the federal government will effectuate any change in their particular districts. And their attitude is, this is a wait-and-see approach. Many of them, I do believe, are waiting out for a Democratic administration.
Well, but then that kind of makes their point. They're right. That at least some of them are right, that they're going to get away with it. They're going to be able to wait out the clock. At some point, you would hope that even a Democrat would realize what it is they're doing is wrong. But the reality is Democrats have been trafficking in this. And the best case scenario for Republicans is to obviously keep the White House with whomever's going to be the nominee and then continue this path of going after these schools. But, I mean, right now, do you blame them for believing that they'll be able to get away with it, given for 4 years it was institutionalized that they would get away with it?
Well, that's exactly it. And really not just one administration, but two, because the sort of ping pong between the Obama and the Biden administration sort of, was a series of bookends on either side of the Trump one administration. And they utilized civil rights law as a cudgel. Equity is not the same as equality. And when you pursue equity initiatives, you automatically disadvantage another group of students. This is why we have a Civil Rights Act, because it was designed to enforce, to mechanize the promises of the actual Constitution and the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. If we can't get that through our civil rights law, why do we have the civil rights canon in the first place?
Exactly. Sarah Parshall-Perry is the Vice President and Legal Fellow at Defending Education. Sarah, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for sharing this update with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. Most thing car dealers won't tell you is that Chevy pricing is basically the same everywhere. MSRP is MSRP. The difference is in the car. It's what you get after you buy it. And that's why the Sunset Auto family keeps winning, and that's why customers keep choosing them. Sunset Chevrolet, #1 in Washington. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. SunsetAutofamily.com. When we come back, we're going to dive into the big local and an outrageous move out in Thurston County. If you are looking to sell your home, you will not want to miss this. We're going to get into that and so much more on this hour of the Jason Rantz Show. Brought to you by the Northwest Safe Company.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100.
Joe Fallon did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he commissioned a portrait of himself. Does Joe already know what he looks like? Yes. Do guests know what he looks like? Also yes. But not as art. It's Joe's savings, and if he wants to spend it on a velvet painting of himself with a white tiger at his feet, we say, roar, Joe, roar. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Well, the wet, chilly weather has certainly arrived. It's Mike Salk here, and if your attic and crawl space are well insulated, your home should be fine. Should feel cozy and warm without your furnace having to work overtime. But you'd be surprised to learn how many homes in Western Washington lack insulation in these spaces. It's why you call Crawl Pros. If you're feeling cold drafts or seeing that heating bill spike, now's a great time to learn if you got anything going on behind that crawl space or attic by calling Crawl Pros. They'll come out to your house just like they did to mine, do the corner-to-corner inspection. In my case, they found the problem, showed me the pictures, and then they got it all fixed. Now, if they do discover your home is under or improperly insulated, they'll show you all the utility rebates that are available to help you get the work done correctly. Like if you're a PSE customer and your home was built before 1990, you could get a rebate to cover up to 95% of the cost of the insulation job. If you're worried anything is going on in your crawl space or attic, including critters, water intrusion, mold, plumbing issues, anything, call Crawl Pros and schedule your free corner-to-corner inspection at crawlpros.com.
I saw her texting coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Sammamish, Kent, Olympia, Everett.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Centralia, Lakewood.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at the time, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local, brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show. Heard weeknights, 8 to 10 right here on Seattle Red 770 AM. This is the part of the show where we completely ignore the stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. We start in Thurston County because politicians there don't think you're smart enough to sell your own home without government permission. And this is not an exaggeration. This is a dramatic overreach, in my view, that completely ignores what the market actually wants and just inserts itself into saying this is what the market should want. That's not an exaggeration. Right now, county leaders are weighing a new rule that would force homeowners in unincorporated Thurston County to get a government-approved energy score before they can even list their home for sale online, before you even put that for sale sign on your lawn, before a buyer walks through the door, before you can exercise your basic property rights. According to the Olympian, this proposal is called the Home Energy Score Ordinance. And it requires you to spend somewhere between $150 and $300 for an assessment from an assessor certified for the county. And you would then get a home score, an energy home score of anywhere between 1 and 10. And it judges energy efficiency. They would look at, they say in this article, 40 different data points, including your windows, insulation, heating systems, water heaters. And then based on all of that, they come up with the numbers. So if you're perfectly energy efficient, you get a 10. If you're not at all, you get a 1. If you're somewhere in the middle, you get some number in the middle. And that number, along with an estimated annual energy cost, would have to be disclosed to buyers. And the intent here is to get you to upgrade your technology, such as your water heater or whatever it is, to something that's more energy efficient per the Thurston County government. This is all coming from their mitigation plan at the county that was adopted, I think, 2021 or so. And they declare that we're in the middle of a climate emergency, and so this is part of their efforts. Let's be clear about what this is and what this isn't. This is not about informed consumers, because buyers are already getting inspections. They can already ask about insulation or the HVAC systems. They can already ask about the windows and whatnot. They can negotiate upgrades or price reductions based upon all of that. The market already accounts for that efficiency. What this does is insert the government as some sort of gatekeeper to the ability that you're supposed to have to sell your own property. This is your property. You own it. And once you accept that premise that the county gets to score your home before you can sell it, the rest is really, really easy. Today, it's just about disclosure, but tomorrow it's pressure to retrofit. Or it's pressure to change your costs because, hey, you're asking for too much and you're cutting out certain portions of the population, and that seems like an injustice. Let's turn this into a social justice issue. You don't see that possibly happening? They're already coming out and saying, based on this, that there could be hundreds of retrofits annually in unincorporated Thurston County. That's not like a coincidence where they're like, oh, I guess it's so. No, that's the point. They're not going to mandate the upgrades, not yet. But if you get a 3 out of 10 on your home energy score and buyers start asking for discounts, what do you think happens next? The political pressure builds. Officials will claim that the data shows too many inefficient homes, and then all of a sudden, voluntary becomes functionally mandatory. Dawn Baker with the Thurston County Realtors Association, she put it, I think, diplomatically. She said, yeah, we support energy efficiency. We support informed consumers, but not implementing a new requirement at the time of listing without fully understanding the impacts it's going to have on the market. What are you doing? And she said this is a structural change to the housing market that will impact affordability. It will create delays. It could potentially create liability. And so she's basically saying she's cautious, and she's right to be. This isn't just another form you might have to fill out for some bureaucrat in Thurston County. It's a structural shift in how home sales begin. Every seller would have to pay a fee and then wait for an assessment before entering the market. And if you are mandating these assessments specifically for this, and you have to go through very specific people who are certified by the county, that's going to create a little bit of a line that you otherwise would not have to go through, would not have to wait for. And that impacts your plans. In a housing environment that's already plagued by inventory shortages, affordability crises, government is adding friction unnecessarily. And of course, this is all about the same political pattern. Declare a climate emergency, adopt some sweeping mitigation plan, and then you quietly weave in these mandates into ordinary life, such as your furnace, I guess. And all of a sudden, the extraordinary things they're asking becomes normal. It becomes routine. Now, the Board of County Commissioners they're delaying a vote on this because they're seeking legal advice. And that tells you even they understand what they're doing is pushing the envelope. This is a bad idea. And this is a really bad idea, which probably guarantees that it's going to be enacted. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what this means. Meanwhile, Wazoo researchers are looking at the microstructure shared between pigs and people. And they say the skin structure, when compared between the pigs and the people, can hold the keys to aging. And because the Spokesman Review is written by really bad reporters, they say, step aside, Botox. The secret to healthy young skin is oinking in a pen. Oh, my God. So the team at the Veterinary Medicine College at Wazoo, they just published work that says the key to regenerating skin and healing wounds actually comes from a microscopic skin structure that humans share with pigs and, as it turns out, grizzly bears. They say monkeys, surprisingly, don't have these structures. Ryan Driscoll is an associate professor at the College of Veterinary Medicine School of Molecular Biosciences, says my laboratory's goal is to get skin to regenerate. And in order to get skin to regenerate, we need to have the blueprints for how to build it. And so they have these things, I think they're called RETE ridges, R-E-T-E, I guess is how it's pronounced. Ryan Driscoll said there's a correlation between these ridges and thick-skinned animals with low hair density. And so they're looking at this and saying, hey, is there anything we can learn here that can be used to help humans keep their inner layers of skin and then just kind of regrow the outer layer part? And the reason why you look at that and the reason why they're pointing this out as aging, it's not really so that you live longer, but it's as you live longer, your skin is not aging at the same rate. So, the older you are, traditionally, the more wrinkles you have, and that actually ends up making you look even sometimes older than you truly are. So what they're trying to do is keep that elasticity in there with this new research. It doesn't seem like they're close to any kind of breakthrough that would impact us at this point, but I am all for ways to keep the skin from shriveling up and then just dying along with the rest of us, because I don't want to do Botox because it's so expensive, but I'm not opposed to it. If I get any deeper wrinkles in my forehead, I might have to just bite the bullet. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. When we come back, Jake Skorheim from our sister station, Car News Radio, stops by. He's weirdly fascinated with the monarchy and the overlap with the Epstein files. Could this be the end of the monarchy? I will mock him for asking that question when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
Your tax return is one of the most important financial documents you produce each year. Have you ever looked at it and wondered what else can you do to minimize your taxes? John Curley here to tell you about Madrona Financial's 1040 Treasure Hunt Workshop, a hands-on tax planning workshop that helps you use your 1040 tax return to uncover tax reduction strategies, avoid future tax surprises, and plan ahead with confidence. The 1040 Treasure Hunt Workshop is at 6 p.m. on March 3rd at Madrona Financial's Kirkland office. This free hands-on event will expose ways to pay less in taxes and plan for the future. If you want fewer surprises and more control, this workshop is the place to start. Tuesday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. RSVP by calling 833-673-7373. That's 833-673-7373. Or visit madronafinancial.com/events to grab your seat today.
This is a paid advertisement. Investments involve risk. See full disclosures at madronafinancial.com.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. For years, Sunset Ford has told you something the rest of the car industry probably loathes to admit. Every Ford dealer pays the exact same price for new vehicles from the factory. Same car, same cost, down to the penny. No Ford dealer has a pricing advantage over another when it comes to what they pay Ford. None. So how can some dealers sell for less? Well, Sunset Ford sells for less because of simple economics. They've got a lower cost of doing business, and so they can pass those savings on to you. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll always get savings from places that can keep their costs low. Sometimes they keep more of that profit. Sunset Ford, no, they're different. They're different. They offer you the savings. Think about what it is you get from Sunset Ford. We're talking about oil changes for life, warranty protection for life. They don't have to offer that to you. They do because they're located in Sumner. They've got the same Ford inventory, purchased at the same price, but they're located in Sumner, which means lower overhead, lower prices that they end up putting into the customer. The truth is, no Ford dealer can sell you a new Ford for less than Sunset Ford of Sumner. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and I could see it in the mirror. I could feel it in my clothing fit. I needed to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe not a ton, but definitely some. This opportunity came up, and I was skeptical. Would it really be worth putting in the work to actually get the results. I wasn't sure. So I did a phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. We talked through the whole thing, and Adam and I decided, you know what, let's go for it. Let's commit. And with that commitment has come amazing outcomes. We have lost a combined 40-plus pounds and counting. There's a plan. You trust the process. You follow it, and the weight melts away. I can personally attest to how well this works. So find out for yourself. At the very least, set up a 15-minute phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. Go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com to find out more. eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. It is a Friday, and that means Jake Skorheim from the hot and hip new show on Cairo News Radio, the Jake and Spike Show, which has been on for, I think, like 4 years now. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
So we've seen the convergence of two stories that personally don't do it for me. I'm not all that interested in, although I understand the importance of it.
Sure.
The Epstein files, the latest data dump from last week, and the fallout.
Yes.
Plus the royal family.
The royal family.
Which I also do not care about whatsoever. Certainly understand the importance of the story of now former Prince Andrew getting arrested and is under investigation, having nothing actually to do with
sex trafficking or anything with girls. No.
This all has to do with whether or not he possibly gave trade information that was classified by the British government to Jeffrey Epstein. So
he was part of as part of his official duties as a royal.
Yeah,
they have to give them like fake jobs to justify all the money that they get.
Fake job, but real classified information.
Real classified information. And so his job was on the trade envoy or something. So he had insight into some things. And the allegations are in these emails that they're now that he was arrested for is that he shared these trade secrets in a way that would have given Epstein, like I guess there would have been like he could have purchased stocks or whatever it would be like.
He could have benefited financially from
investments in these companies. Yes, and apparently in the UK, this is a really big deal. I mean, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal everywhere.
It's a big deal everywhere, but in the UK, you can be punished by up to like life in prison for these things, and so it's a really, really big deal, especially when you are a royal. And so the fallout from this still remains to be seen. One of the things that I saw. And I don't know if you think that this is a reality. I guess we'll find out in the coming days. But one of the things I saw is you saw that King Charles, he put out a statement saying, hey, the law needs to take its course. The most important thing.
Go after him. I never liked my brother anyway.
Do whatever. Yeah, basically that was like kind of what it was implied.
Which is also true. They have a lot of history, I guess.
Well, they are related. They are siblings.
Of hating one
like
another.
Negative history.
Resentment.
So one of the possibilities, though, that I was listening to from this UK commentator who was kind of breaking down that the royal family is kind of in crisis because of this. They're trying to figure out how to deal with this. And it's possible there could be a scenario where King Charles has to abdicate the throne and hand it off to William, which is kind of what everybody wants anyway.
Yeah, which is, again, partly why I reject all of the hot takes. One, it just sounds like a hot take that people are putting out there. They like the drama and the gossip they always have with the royal family. Anyone, both on the British side and the American media side. They just love that. And so I immediately reject that. But then, yeah, I think people just don't like Charles because he's boring and he's an old fuddy-duddy.
He's also has, obviously Charles, that whole thing with Diana. Charles and Diana. Diana. Obviously.
And the new one, whatever her name, Margaret or whatever.
No, it's Camilla Parker
I didn't
Bowles.
finish The Crown.
You should watch it.
I said this yesterday that I made it to the end of the last season, and I think I have 3 episodes left, and I just stopped.
That's a strange thing to do.
I just stopped.
Well, I know I did that with a show once, and I haven't finished the last 2 episodes.
I've watched, I think there's like 6 seasons or 5 seasons, something like that.
I think it's 6.
I watched every single episode except for the last 3.
The cool thing about The Crown, for anybody who hasn't watched it, is it's so high quality, and you're watching. I like watching like really, really well done productions, even if the stories aren't that great. In this case, it actually is a good story, so it's interesting.
The last season was not great.
They tried to bring it into modern times.
The reason
the
reason why I didn't finish it is I don't want to see her die.
It's very sad.
It's just depressing, and I'm getting old, and I don't want to think any more than I already am about death.
You should check it out though, because it's not going to change the reality of that she did die, and so it's not going to. I don't think it's going to hit
not
you
in real life.
Way. In real life, she did die. Not the actress, but obviously
she died.
Did you not know that? Spoiler alert. Damn. You should watch it because you're going to learn a lot of history that you maybe didn't know. I'm picking up. Maybe you weren't aware of what happened with the royals. But
I was
anyway,
shocked when Diana died. I thought, and by the way, I thought it was Diana.
You thought it was Diana too?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. But no, it's a good show. You should watch it. You should finish it. But so you don't believe that it's possible that Charles abdicates? I mean, it is possible that he does.
Well,
step
yes,
down.
I suppose anything is possible. I just think it's one of those silly hot takes that people are leaning into because they like the gossip more than the reality of it.
That's probably more true than the idea that he actually has to step down. But from a distance, as Americans, and again, I don't like royals. I don't like it. It's in my blood to not like it. It's in
You
your
don't
blood
know
not to
any
like
royals.
It. I don't know any royals.
And that's the funny thing, because in Europe, there's royal families,
They're
obviously. And yet the Americans who hold positions like that, which obviously I'm not in favor of a monarchy, you can only really point to the UK with any knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll say, I think there's like a Dutch one, but no one knows any of those details.
I mean, you could probably go a little. I mean, yes, you're right. The UK ones are the ones that we're most closely associated with.
And the only time I even know about or think about this is on my Instagram account. I'll sometimes get a video coming in that says, this hot party animal prince or princess from the Netherlands or wherever. I'm like, I don't care.
The Netherlands royals are all very good looking. That's true. The UK royals are not
ugly.
Are not good looking.
The one that was good looking originally was not the one they kicked. Who's the next prince?
Harry?
Not him. The one who will be king.
Oh, William.
William, and then he got bald and ugly.
he got very bald.
He got so bald so quickly, and it's really, this is part of the reason why I spend so much time making sure I don't lose my hair.
Sure.
Is like that could completely change the way someone looks.
It also
and there's
changes-
some people who can pull it off.
Yeah, there's a Bruce Willis version where it ended up kind of looking cool.
Well, I would have gone for the action star from the UK.
Jason Statham.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he also works without hair.
It works for him. In fact, Jason Statham with hair would be frightening.
Weird.
Yeah, because I'm so used to seeing him as a
what is this?
A bald man. He's a powerful bald man.
And yet,
which you have to be. If you're going to go bald, you have to become a powerful bald man. You don't want to be a weak bald man.
Well, if you're short, you're automatically weak.
No, because all actors are really tiny. So, like, if you were, I bet you Jason Statham. You look up his height right now. I'll take a guess. I bet you Jason Statham is I bet he's 5'8".
He's 5'10", so he's slightly above average.
5'10" is not above average.
5'9" is average for men.
Really?
Yep. I think in this country,
So
globally, I don't know what it is.
Okay, so 5'10" is something that they're saying, which means he's actually probably, I don't know this to be the case. This
Well,
is
the
my
internet
suspicion.
wouldn't lie.
That's true. Well, if the internet says it's true, then it must be.
The average male, I was actually wrong. The average male height in the U.S. is 5'9". Globally, it's 5'6".
Freedom, man.
Well, because
Isn't that
there
amazing?
are...
Freedom.
Yeah.
Because we live in such a beautiful country, we just get bigger here. We have more room to stretch out because we're tall
But
drinks
the
of
Brits
water.
are really tall.
The Brits?
Europeans are generally pretty tall. Asians generally pretty short.
Norwegians are very tall. People in the Netherlands tend to be tall. Germans can be tallish.
I don't go to Eastern Europe because I don't want to get killed. But I've been to all the other places, and they're all tall. They're like, I always think to myself, they're unusually tall here. Not the French.
Italians are not tall. The French are not tall. I don't think the French are very tall. Where are your people from?
Israel.
Israel. Are Israelites tall? You're
no.
pretty tall. How tall are you?
If I'm sitting up, like if I have good posture, I'm 6'1.5".
6'1.5". Okay, yeah, that's a pretty tall.
I sometimes round up to 6'2", but now that I wear barefoot shoes, I can't really hide that well.
Is that what you've been doing? I've been noticing.
That I'm shorter?
No, that you have funny looking shoes on.
Yeah, I love these shoes. And by the way, these are the least
Is it better
funny
for
looking.
your posture?
It's not just good for posture; it's good for your hips and your feet because you're actually using muscles in your feet now to keep yourself stable. Unlike the shoes that
are you grounding?
The shoes I'm currently wearing are capable of grounding. I don't know how.
Do you want to explain that to the audience?
So grounding is basically the closer you can get. And usually grounding is done with literal bare feet.
Yeah.
It's connecting to the energy of the soil or sand. There's just natural energy within not asphalt, but within nature. It sounds crazier than it actually is. But it's actual real energy. That's why I don't talk about grounding all that often because it's an actual thing, but it sounds crazy. Yeah, it makes you sound like, oh, you're connecting with the earth. Well, it's just the soil.
I know
we're
very far afield of the Royals, but I have to ask one more question. Are you aware of this? So you and I text a lot, funny things that you're into, like a bunch of like stainless steel stuff. My wife is also
all
into all these
biohacking
things.
stuff.
There's all these like health things that I'm not aware of that you are aware of, that my wife is also aware of because
I talk to through you.
Through me, and you send her articles and so she's up to date on these things. And the new one, I don't know if you guys both know about this, but my wife knows about this, and it's lights. Have you seen the thing about lights and the long wave lights and like all the LED lights and how they're actually like killing your... Yes. You know about this.
I have special light bulbs in my home.
We do now too.
Yeah.
And they're dark. And
red.
I can't see anything.
They're red.
They're red-ish.
Or warmish. It depends on the
they
kind
look
you're
almost
getting.
amber.
Yeah.
I can't see
red.
anything in my
That's
house.
what red is.
And so my wife has been replacing our lights. Well, I'm replacing them because she can't reach things. But I'm replacing these lights, and then she'll flip them on, and it's like there's this old. It's a dark. It's not a light. There's nothing there, and I can't see anything. And this morning, we don't live in a bright place. We live in Washington, where it's pretty gray and dark, and it's morning time, so the sun isn't fully up yet. And
that is so what you're doing in the morning, and you can tell her I said this, is a huge mistake. You don't want red lights that early in the morning.
She's not turning on any lights.
But you want bright lights. You would prefer to get it from sun, but we obviously don't get a lot of sun, especially this time of year. It's very dark when we get up. You want as much brightness as possible. You want some UVB light. So there is a brand that I have in my house. It's called LIFX. I don't know how it's pronounced. LIFX, LIFX. And it's kind of like Hue. It's kind of like a Hue light bulb, but it's done the right way. And you can have, and I think even the hues will work for some of this. You just change it red at night, later at night. You don't want bright lights because it down regulates or it can get in the way of your circadian rhythm. You want to, just for sleep. I wear glasses at night that have a red filter upon them. It's from Dave Asprey, who's on the show next week, by the way, folks. And the second I put on these glasses at night,
you get tired.
I cut all the blue, my God, I start to get tired. In the morning, I'm
getting tired just listening to you tell me about all this stuff.
In the morning, I put on this super bright light
to
that
wake you
mimics
up.
the sun because I don't have, when I get up, any access to sunlight because the sun doesn't come up until...
We don't have sun here in Washington.
Although on the way in this morning as I was walking the dog, I got a dog a couple years ago. I don't think we talked about it. But it was like 6:45 this morning when I was taking him for his walk and the sun was starting to come up.
Did you just sit there and like soak up
Well, it wasn't
golden
that
rays?
good. It was just, there was no golden rays. I'm just saying I looked up and it wasn't pitch black. I'm
They
like,
got to
hey.
figure these lights out because it's so dark in my house. She comes into the kitchen this morning and I'm making breakfast and she shuts off all the lights. She goes, "No, those are bad for you." And I was like, "Why do we have lights if I'm not allowed to turn them on?" And I'm getting old. I can't just walk around in a dark house. And my kids are sitting there like, "Mom, why can't you turn on the lights?"
These poor kids.
And I feel like she's not.
I'm eating only on stainless steel.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to have anything not organic.
I don't know. Things are crazy these days. And then all the stuff with the Royals. Everything is crazy these days, Jason. And I don't know what to make of it. So thank God we've got coffee and all the good stuff.
And creatine that you're stealing from my office now.
I'm using now.
He comes in. Oh,
My brain
hey,
is-
Jason, what's going on? How's it? Oh, is there some creatine?
No,
in
but
the
it's
back there?
popping. I'll tell you what. The creatine is. My brain is
You
popping.
haven't even finished the creatine and you say that.
I'm like Bradley Cooper in Limitless, and it's making me feel like I'm kind of seeing everything from a different angle, and it's great.
Not quite what creatine does.
Feeling more handsome.
Yeah.
I'm taller.
As long as you feel that way.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's Jake Skorheim from the Jake and Spike Show. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, man. Happy weekend.
Happy weekend. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. We're not headed to the weekend just yet. We've got some more when we come back right here on Seattle Red 770 AM.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here with Phil Mitchell from the Sunset Auto family. Let's talk about No Stress Sundays, because there are a lot of folks who just feel off-put by the idea of going to any place to purchase a car, and then all of a sudden you've got salespeople. Even if they're not breathing down your neck, the feeling that they might be just turns people off.
Well, No Stress Sundays is really how it should be every day at a car dealership.
So why is Sunday different for you?
Sunday's important because families are out running around. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to be hassled by a salesman. And no offense, my staff likes to have some Sundays off too with their families. So we created this environment where there's really less salespeople, less finance people, and you just get to mosey around. And if you need some help, you raise your hand and we take good care of you. And that's how it works.
But to be clear, on Sunday, I can still get a car, right?
If you decide you want to go through with the purchase, we'll make sure we can facilitate that for you. We just aim to make you happy.
And you do just that. Sunset Auto Family has been making people happy with warranty protection for life, oil changes for life, and now No Stress Sundays. Head into any location when you're ready for your next vehicle. Sunset Auto Family. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
New round of tariffs. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump announcing on Truth Social a short time ago a global 10% tariff on all countries, which he says will be in effect almost immediately. There will be exceptions, including certain critical minerals, metals used in currency and bullion, and energy products. This coming after the Supreme Court struck down his Liberation Day tariffs in a decision issued this morning. The president blasted that ruling.
Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you.
And the president again said the justices who voted against the tariffs should be ashamed of themselves. Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is also running for governor, says the high court was correct in its ruling.
The chaos this has created, changes over 100 times and the like, has done damage to our economy and particularly American consumers. Last estimate from one budget, the Yale Budget Lab, was $1,700 per American family last year.
On Fox's special report with Brett Baer, Klobuchar says she's agreed with tariffs in the past, but these tariffs have done great harm for farmers in her state. Forecasters warning people who live along the I-95 corridor in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast of another monster winter storm.
It's not just the snow, the intense wind that comes with that widespread 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, especially on the northern side from New York all the way to Boston, anywhere in between. When you combine those two ingredients together, then you're setting yourself up for not only a nor'easter, but a blizzard.
Fox weather meteorologist Steve Bender. The New York City area could get over a foot of snow Sunday into Monday, and Philly could see 8 to 12 inches. The U.S. military says it struck a suspected drug boat in the Eastern Pacific, killing 3 men. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos made it affordable to get life insurance. Signing up was fast and 100% online. I knew that I could pay our mortgage and have food in the fridge. I could focus on my kids. No one ever tells you how much you're going to depend on that policy. I am so grateful we had coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Coach! The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app. Sheriff Derek Sanders of Thurston County, friend of the show, good guy. He posted a Facebook message about a scholarship that got some people concerned because it's a scholarship that gives preferential treatment on the basis of race. And so people said, this doesn't seem like Derek Sanders. So I thought we would talk to him directly and have him explain where he's coming from. He's going to explain at 5:30. But first, Washington Democrats are calling all of us bots because we're actually signing on against their income tax. That's what's trending.
What's trending? Wait, what?
So this is a pretty cool story. Earlier this morning, I had written a quick piece for SeattleRed.com. I hope you'll check it out about this millionaire tax and the renewed push from folks on our side of this issue, which includes people who are Democrats and independents, not just Republicans, people opposed to this bill. And Democrats thought that they could quietly ram through the legislature their bill. It's Senate Bill 6346. Again, it's the millionaire tax. It would assess a 9.9% tax on earnings over $1 million per household. And instead of just brushing off all of the opposition as noise, they're now facing another record-breaking backlash that they can't explain away. And so what their allies are doing in the legislature, just pretending that we've got a bunch of bots who are signing on. Now, as we told you for the first Senate bill that they passed, we had over 60,000 people, Washingtonians, 60,000 plus, signing in the opposition. They signed up as con. You can do this online. And again, I hope you'll take the 2 seconds to do this at SeattleRed.com. We've got the link in my story. You can also find it all on our social media accounts. But we had some 60,000. So now that they passed that bill, the whole process starts over again. So we have to recollect all of the cons, all of those who are opposed. Well, as I did the story, it was a little over 45,000, which makes it the second highest a number of con or pro votes, just votes that were put into a bill in the history of the legislature. And as I did the story, and then I started to promote it, and this was not just on me by no stretch, but afterwards I had to update the story because it had already exceeded 50,000. It had already gone over 50,000. So we might get to a point where we will break the previous record on the same bill. And remember, if you already voted con on this online or registered as con, you have to redo it. And the folks over at Let's Go Washington, Brian Haywood, he posted a note about how, because they've been tracking all the cons, because you put your name on it, it's public. Well, he saw that people who previously voted in favor of it, a few hundred, 388 of them so far, have switched to the con this time around. So this is really great. But as we have all these people are signing up, you have Democrats dismissing them as bots. They didn't offer any evidence at all of unusual activity, just a convenient insult aimed at those of you who dared to disagree with them. There's someone named Eli Taylor Goss, the executive director of the Washington State Budget and Policy Center. This is a left-wing organization, talking with Lauren Donovan, I think her name was, over at Fox 13, who decided to just include this clip without any context, without any follow-up, just let it hang there as if this is legitimate.
There's going to be a lot of those 50,000 people were bots, potentially. So, I think when you actually look at the IP addresses and who's actually signing in, it's everyday Washingtonians who are in support of tax fairness.
That is 100% a lie. A 100% a lie. There is zero evidence of anything unusual. Zero. And Eli Taylor Goss says this as if they've got access to the IP addresses. Oh, no, we've looked. It's not like they looked. It's just so ridiculous. And so what people are doing this time around, and this is pretty great, not only are they voting con, but in the area where it says you can put your employer, they're writing in not a bot. Again, it's a little bit of almost like a reverse trolling of people like that person we just heard from. So we got 50,000+ people who signed the con. And that number, whatever it ends up becoming at the end of this, tells a story Democrats don't want to hear. Hundreds who initially supported the measure have flipped. Tens of thousands are on record opposing this. And it's precisely why the Democrats added their necessity clause to the income tax. It prevents a voter referendum. They know that they're doing something that we do not want. And they're trying to make it impossible to overcome it. And they don't like that. And so they just dismiss all of us. We have rejected income taxes 11 times. 11 times. This is another attempt to do indirectly what we have repeatedly blocked directly. And when lawmakers and their advocates and their activist class of ground troops, when they respond to massive opposition by smearing us as bots or constituents as fake accounts, they reveal how little respect they've got for all of us. The real story is not the imaginary bots. The real story is the record number of Washingtonians who are fed up with new taxes and tired of being ignored. And so if you want to express your opposition on the record, again, we've got the link up at seattlered.com. It's at the end of the story. It says, click here to express your opposition on the record. It takes 2 seconds. It really is that quick. You just put in your information, your name, and if you want for occupation, put not a bot. Or proudly say what your occupation is. Who cares? seattlered.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Legal.
I'm not going to pretend that Ken Delinian, who's, I thought, just a national security reporter over at MSNBC or MS Now, I'm not going to pretend that he's ever been a fair-minded person. But dear God, they're just leaning in to exposing themselves as partisan hacks. In the aftermath of this Supreme Court decision, we've been talking about it all show, 6-3, putting a pause on the Trump tariffs the way he initially did them. As we're talking about this, you're getting all the hot takes and talking head hot takes telling us their positions. And, you know, again, I guess they've turned Ken Delinian's title into the Justice and Intelligence Reporter. He points out that this is proof that the justices who didn't go with this, so we're talking about Gorsuch and Barrett as well as Roberts, they're not lackeys for Trump.
Well, I think it's been very clear for a long time, and this tariffs case underscores that none of those three justices are lackeys for Donald Trump. They don't necessarily share his administration's view of executive power. They're certainly very conservative. This is the most conservative court in modern history, but they are independent. And the question of whether they're going to remake, for example, hundreds of years of law on citizenship, it just doesn't seem like their style, particularly Roberts, who's an institutionalist. And so, again, Donald Trump may be in for a rude awakening here with some of these big cases down the line.
So what he's saying, though, is that the three who sided with the Trump administration, Alito, Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, they're lackeys. So if they don't vote the way Ken Delinian or Democrats want, then they're lackeys. When they do vote the way that they want, they're standing up against Trump. And the funny thing is, and we made this point about Pramila Jayapal, for example, you know, every time there's a ruling she doesn't like, she goes out there and she says, this is a fascist Supreme Court doing the bidding of the Trump administration. We have to completely dismantle and stack the court with liberal justices. So they're showing what they really believe, which is they only support the court and justices when they do what they want. When they don't, they're seen as the enemy, which is deeply problematic constitutionally. These are people who don't actually care about the Constitution or the rule of law, although they'll tell us nonstop that they're the only ones who care about the rule of law. They'll tell us that over and over and over again. They'll pat themselves on the back. They'll give themselves, bruises from patting themselves on the back over this. They love them when they do what they want. And then, of course, the next time we get a ruling, and undoubtedly we're going to get a ruling from the Supreme Court that they're all going to disagree with on the radical left. And so they're going to come out right after that happens and say, see, we told you, this court is out of control. It's a lawless court. They tear up the Constitution. What about the last time you supported them? Well, everyone makes a mistake from time to time. It just so happens that mistake happened to be in line with the rule of law. These people are frauds. They're absolute frauds, and they don't care that you know that they're frauds because they're hoping enough people don't pay attention to their inconsistencies. And this is the same kind of inconsistency that we saw with like the Epstein files. If your name is mentioned in the Epstein files, you are guilty. Then when it's a Democrat who's named, oh, no. There's some context here. It wasn't, agreed, there is context. You just don't hold both sides to the same level of scrutiny. You're not following the same rules. Now, there are some takes on the left and the right that I equally disagree with. In response to that, there have been some on the right who decry this and say this is outrageous. I think the president was wrong to say that this shows disloyalty. No, I think anyone who was paying attention to the arguments that were being made, and I listened to the initial Supreme Court hearing on this, it was clear that they were going to reject this overall. I didn't know what the vote would be, and I thought, hey, there might be an out for the Trump administration, which there is an out for the Trump administration that we talked about in the first hour of the show. We'll talk about it again in the next hour. It's just the way that they decided to go about it this time around was what was deemed unconstitutional. But most conservatives have been saying this the entire time, that they might support the tariff strategy. And I have some mixed feelings still about the tariff strategy. Some of it I understand and support, others I don't. But you can be a strong supporter of the strategy while also rejecting the legal argument that they were making. And John Yoo, the UC Berkeley law professor, who's a former Bush administration official, he was on Fox News this morning saying, actually, this ruling may work in his favor down the line.
Now, I like Shannon's point a great deal. This might be a blessing in disguise because we just had GDP report numbers from last year that show the economy significantly slowed. If all the tariffs that President announced are immediately eliminated, and he has to take about a year, if he really chooses to do it again, has to take about a year to impose these tariffs again, that might actually have a positive boost on the economy, which could have a very positive effect on President Trump and Republicans by the midterm elections.
So it's all about the timing. Again, I don't know how the president will react in the long term to all of this, but they're obviously looking for ways around this to use other legal avenues for the tariffs, because he does believe you don't have to at all, agree with his argument, but he does believe it, which is why he has talked so much about tariffs, knowing that he likely was going to lose. I guarantee you he had people in his ear in the administration, advisors telling him, that hearing did not go well. That oral arguments did not go well for us. We're going to lose this. And so that they were working behind the scenes to look for other ways to push this. And he announced, as we told you, this 10% global tariff earlier today. Again, it's a different way to go about the tariff, like he's using a different mechanism. And as we told you earlier, maybe he's just using the AOC argument that she made after a Supreme Court ruling she disagreed with. We should just ignore it. By the way, the Sunset Auto family are loyal supporters of Seattle Red. I want you to know every single qualifying new and used vehicle comes with oil changes for life. You get up to 5 a year. That's going to save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your vehicle. So when you're ready for your next car or truck, be sure to visit our friends at the Sunset Auto family in Auburn and Sumner, online at sunsetautofamily.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending at home?
Washington home listings just jumped about 21%, according to the NWMLS. This is happening at the same time that sales have stopped. They haven't dried up, but usually around this time of year, after the spring and sort of summer bump, it gets pretty quiet, and that's what's happening in this case. It's happening as it normally would. However, one could make the argument that part of the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing is that there's some market uncertainty, particularly in the direct Seattle metro area because of, a millionaire tax. in an area where people probably are living saying, maybe I got to move out of the state. There's also a new mayor in Seattle that is very far to the left, and so there might just be some general, and that's ultimately what stopped me from purchasing a home this year. So I'm renting for another year, a decision I made just a couple weeks ago. I'd been actively looking. I, got pre-approved for a loan, did everything I was supposed to. And by the way, thank you, Legacy Group Capital. They're awesome. LegacyG.com, wonderful sponsor. But I ultimately decided I'm going to hold off a bit because the prices are still a little bit too high for my liking for what it is you're getting. And I don't know what the future of Seattle is going to look like. And I guess, my guess would be things are going to get worse. And just within the last month or two, just homelessness has gone way worse. But they're looking at this at the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, and they saw a huge jump in the number of homes being put on the market, and that is just obviously not a great sign. The slow sales, that makes sense. But for you to see this kind of jump of about 21% increase in houses on the market, that's going to impact prices that probably benefit the buyers, because a higher number at a slower rate means the prices are going to start coming down, presumably. But the real reason behind this is you've got the millionaire tax, you've got Amazon and Microsoft and Expedia layoffs that have been pretty significant locally. And that might be the reason why someone's going to say, you know what, I'm either going to downgrade from what I currently have, maybe try to take advantage of a market that hasn't completely cratered, so I can make a little bit of money off of this initial investment when I purchase the home. They might just be saying, I'm going to move to Woodinville. I'm going to move to Linwood, whatever it is, Shoreline. Or it could be, I'm going to move to Boise. I'm going to go to a red state. I'll still find like a blue enclave. And then I don't know. I imagine there's probably a little bit of a mix of both. But they say comparing the change, this is Como, comparing the change from just December to January, the NWMLS numbers become even more stark. In just 1 month, the inventory of available homes for sale jumped 6%, with closed sales dropping 31%. They say the median home prices across the state ended up falling 3%. For many buyers, buying a house is still a long way from affordable, even with that decrease. The median sales price for homes and condos in Washington in January was $595,000, which is down from $615,000. But again, as someone who's been looking in the Seattle market, specifically the city of Seattle, and every once in a while I'll see some homes that get into my search from, Kirkland or Renton or something. But for the most part, I'm looking in Seattle. It's still way too high. And so what this means is that the homes outside of Seattle are where you're going to find some of the really great pricing. Some of it, by the way, is just there's new developments coming out. We've flooded the zone with these really tiny, narrow townhomes that are technically considered DADU units, DADU, these detached accessory dwelling units. These are standalone residential structures, are they have to be on a lot, the same lot as a primary single family home. So it's basically, instead of having a big yard, we're cutting the yard space and we're building these DADU units, and they're really small. I think in Seattle they can't be larger than 1,010 square feet, something like that. And I've looked at some of them because I like their style. I like the contemporary feel to them, and I love something that's brand new. But they are so small, and they're usually so narrow. It just doesn't make any sense to purchase, especially at the prices that are still where they're at in Seattle. But when you start looking in places like Shoreline, you've seen a lot more units going up, condos going up, and apartment complexes going up because of the light rail expansion. I just don't know how long that's going to last. But man, I would $595 if that was the average cost of a home or apartment or a condo in Seattle. I would jump on that right now. The reality is, every time I'm looking at one, they're the ones that maybe I would like and consider and still feel like I'm getting my money's worth because of the size. Like at a minimum of 1,100 square feet or 1,200 square feet, which is what I was looking for. Those cost, if you get lucky, you can find one for $850 or $899. And I'm just not spending that. when I think that the market is going to continue to go down. We do know that, and Homes.com had just pointed out that we saw the lowest mortgage interest rate since, I think, 2022. The average is now at 6.01. And it was funny because I was looking at that. I'm like, okay, yeah, that it hit its lowest rates since September of 2022, 6.01, at least as of yesterday. And these are 30-year fixed rate averages. I'm like, that's lower than what it was under the Biden administration. That's not low. 6.01% is still way too high. That is just way too high. And I don't know if it's reasonable to think that we will ever get down to what it was like in 2020. I don't think it's reasonable that we'll get back down there. It has to be reasonable that it's going to be lower than 6%. I have to assume it's going to eventually get lower than maybe 4%. And maybe that's the lowest it'll get. That's still, you're saving a ton of money on home loans if you can get down to that point. In housing, on the renter side, Fox Business had a story about how renters are expected to see some relief this year. Rent growth is expected to slow, according to Zillow. They looked at what the market is doing right now. They say they're projecting that multifamily rental prices are expected to remain relatively flat through the end of 2026, declining slightly by 0.2%. So that's better than not. They say single-family rents are expected to rise at an annual rate of 1.1%. They said that the typical asking rent in January, and again, I wish this was the rent in Seattle, was $1,895, which was up just 0.1% from December and 2% year over year. So seeing that kind of slowdown on housing costs is obviously great. And again, if you're a property owner, if you're a homeowner, you don't like any of this news, especially if you ended up purchasing relatively recently and ended up paying way more than you ought to have. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. 1-800-465-8770. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, Sheriff Derek Sanders posted on Facebook an announcement for a new scholarship offering, except it gives preferential treatment to, quote-unquote, persons of color. So why is the sheriff promoting that? He'll explain when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show on Seattle Red.
A recent 5-star General Transmission Google review.
Well, I went to General Transmission because they're the only shop I could find advertising they'd fix my transmission instead of replacing it. Mark took my transmission out, showed me the problem, and suggested a repair. Super honest, super fair, super knowledgeable, and they saved me thousands. I'm a customer for life. Thanks, Mark. No other shop would have done that for me.
Need more convincing? Check out General Transmission's other 5-star Google reviews and let them speak for themselves. And learn more at generaltransmission.com.
Is your heating bill too high? That's an all-red emergency. Go to trustallred.com to discover how a new high-efficiency heat pump could cut your energy costs 10, 20, 30% or more. And with rebates and programs available, now is a great time to save big. So you'll be warm and snug in the winter and cool and comfy in the summer. Go to trustallred.com. That's trustallred.com today, because if it's all red, it's all right.
Logan Fury did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he bought a mini treadmill. Is walking on it during video conference calls more distracting than he thought? Yes. And is that because he overestimated his foot-eye coordination? Definitely. But it's Logan's savings, and if he wants to burn calories and any chance at a promotion, we say, good for you, Logan. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Welcome to guided meditation. Close your eyes. You're at the beach. The seagulls are calling. You take out your iPhone 16e you got from Cricket and use Apple Intelligence to clean up that selfie you just took. It's a good one. You send it to your friends instantly thanks to reliable nationwide 5G. They're totally jealous. Get iPhone 16e for $49.99 when you switch. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new line on the Supreme Unlimited plan. First service charge and tax due at sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and I could see it in the mirror. I could feel it in my clothing fit. I needed to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe not a ton, but definitely some. This opportunity came up, and I was skeptical. Would it really be worth putting in the work to actually get the results? I wasn't sure. So I did a phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. We talked through the whole thing, and Adam and I decided, you know what, let's go for it, let's commit. And with that commitment has come amazing outcomes. We have lost a combined 40-plus pounds and counting. There's a plan, you trust the process, you follow it, and the weight melts away. I can personally attest to how well this works. So find out for yourself. At the very least, set up a 15-minute phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. Go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com to find out more. eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Homeowners, stop what you're doing right now and listen up, because Puget Sound Energy has new rebates that have never been this high. If insufficient insulation or no insulation at all in your crawl space or attic are impacting your energy bills, now's the time to get your free inspection from Northwest Crawl Space Services, because these PSC rebates could pay for up to 95% of your project, and that could mean thousands of dollars in savings on your job. But make sure you hire a crawl space company that's PSC certified, because not every company can offer these rebates. Don't miss out. Call today, and the team from Northwest Crawl Space Services are happy to give you a free energy savings consultation. Northwest Crawl Space Services will get rid of the critters, re-insulate your home, and hook you up with big-time savings and PSC rebates. Remember, these guys can solve any crawl space or attic problem, no exceptions. See if you qualify for savings from PSC. Go to nwcrawlspace.com.
The Thurston County Sheriff's Office posted on its Facebook page information about the Dan Montgomery Scholarship. And it caught some folks who have been generally supportive of law enforcement, certainly of the sheriff, a little off guard because of one particular aspect of this scholarship, which says preference is given to students who identify as a person of color. Joining me on the line to discuss this and so much more, our friend Sheriff Derek Sanders. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So this is a law enforcement scholarship of $2,000. It's meant to go to high school students, seniors who are graduating, who want to go into law enforcement. Why is there preference given to students who identify as a person of color? They don't even have to be, by the way, a person of color. They just have to identify as one.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I won't speak on behalf of the foundation because I'm not a board member and I didn't found this entity. The reason that we shared it, obviously, is it has a direct tie to the sheriff's office. It's a retired sheriff, Sheriff Montgomery. And so the best I can do is guess. And my guess would be the reason that they have chosen as a private foundation to prioritize their dollars towards getting people who identify as persons of color into law enforcement is because, historically speaking, law enforcement has lacked diversity. It has. And if you go back to the roots of law enforcement, I know it makes people uncomfortable to talk about, but there's a reason that law enforcement has lacked diversity over the last few centuries. And that's because there was a point in time, and it wasn't that long ago, where you couldn't be in law enforcement if you were a person of color. And so as a result of that, I think that there are a number of foundations and private entities out there who are trying to diversify and catch up, if you will. Now, it doesn't mean that people who aren't persons of color can't get the money. That's not my understanding of it. But I think they are interested in saying, hey, how can we get qualified candidates who are persons of color, who do represent certain segments of the population, to apply and get into law enforcement?
The response you received on Facebook from a lot of folks, I don't know if you were caught off guard. I'm presuming you were not caught off guard by the criticism, at least of this particular, point of the scholarship, which, as a bunch of people pointed out in the comments, is named after a white guy who's the former sheriff. But you would not hire someone on the basis of skin color, nor would you give special or preferential treatment to someone on the basis of skin color. So why are you comfortable with this particular scholarship that, while, of course, they're not going to say we're not going to give it to a white kid, the implication is very obvious what they're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, so it's different between government and private dollars. So private entities can
do
what
There's
they
nothing
want
illegal.
with their They can do that. And to be fair, like when I was in high school, I remember seeing scholarships when I was going through the list of, my counselors providing me stuff of, hey, this scholarship is only open to women. It's specific to women, or this scholarship is only open for people with disabilities. And I guess I never felt left out. I never felt discriminated against. I felt like, wow, that's a really great opportunity. Look at all the other opportunities I already have. And so I think from that perspective, it doesn't really hurt my feelings as someone who's biracial with a white mom and a black dad. For me, it's just kind of one of those things where I recognize both sides of this of like, yeah, on one hand, we're going to hire the most qualified applicant, but I will also tell you 100% that there are qualified African-American, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander, all those entities who aren't applying because they're just not comfortable around law enforcement or they didn't grow up in a household like that. So any way that we can reach out to those qualified applicants and get them to apply and get them into our profession is good for the competition pool. It means that we have a bigger pool of candidates to choose from.
Is the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, are they hitting their general goals when it comes to diversity?
Well, so as the sheriff, I don't have a general goal of diversity. So we don't have a number. There's no like, I need X amount of African Americans. I need X amount of women. I need X amount of white people. I don't have that. What I have is I want all of the candidates to put in who are qualified, whether they're black, white, purple, green, or red. And then I want to be able to choose from those candidates who the best possible candidate is. Sometimes that might be a black man. Sometimes that might be a white woman. I just want more candidates to put in. And I think that's where we get really confused sometimes about these initiatives and what my goal is. So my goal is not to have a black man and a white man put in for the same spot with the exact same credentials and pick a black man because of their skin color. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to get out there is that we know that there are black men who are highly qualified, who are not putting in because they don't feel welcome in the profession. They don't feel like they'll be accepted. And it couldn't be further from the truth. So whatever barrier I can knock down for that individual so they get into my candidate pool and I have an opportunity to select them when they are the most qualified person on the list, that's what I'm aiming for.
What probably gets in the way, and we're talking with Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders, of folks maybe feeling comfortable working in law enforcement in 2026, while it's certainly been better than it was in the last few years because of all of the activism, what probably doesn't help is when they're getting harassed by unhinged lunatics who are filming them when they're just filling out a simple police report following a crash, which is what happened to one of your deputies, Jacob DeMano, who we played the audio last week. And your response was pitch perfect because you just completely rejected the lunatic who was harassing your deputy and gave him accommodations or kudos afterwards. What's been the update since this story took off? How has the deputy responded to all of this?
Oh, he's a good sport. I think you can tell that by his personality in the video. He's a good sport, and he's back to work doing the police work that we want him to be out doing. And I would also say that, as far as the individual who recorded him, like I'll actually tell you right now, Jason, like I get it. If I see a couple cop cars at the school or one's driving around the block, I totally understand as a parent being like, hey, is everything okay? And having that deputy explain, oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's also where I kind of expect a reasonable person to end that conversation and not continue to say, you're not part of us. I'll tell you one of the things that really bugged me about the statement was that until you overtly show us your humanity, and I can't disagree more. I think that every single day, members across our department and our agency show their humanity in their work. So, at the end of the day, members of our office, we are part of this community and we do belong here.
Have you heard, as is often the case, more from folks who support your position and support law enforcement after this than the detractors?
The message that I've gotten from this is that 99% of a bipartisan effort of everyone across the political spectrum thinks the deputy did a fantastic job and agrees with the sentiment that I kind of explained of like, listen, like we do local law enforcement stuff here. We're trying to build roots with our community and get to know our people and police them correctly and do the right things for the right reasons. And I think that's something that pretty much everyone can get behind.
Finally, we're wrapping up somewhat close to wrap-up season, I guess, for the shortened legislative session. And while a lot of the focus has been on the millionaire tax, there's a lot that impacts public safety, both directly and indirectly. We obviously have a bill that could, if it ends up getting fully passed and signed by the governor, could make it a whole lot easier for some group of bureaucrats to remove you from your post if they felt it was warranted. What's your general take? Because they're pushing this as some sort of oversight bill. It's clear the end result is what they want to have happen, essentially, is to take away the right of people to elect a sheriff, and this is one step in that direction. We've already seen that take place in King County. What's your response to this particular bill?
It's undemocratic. It's as simple as that. This is voter suppression wrapped up in a blanket and called police accountability. There are elements of this bill I support. I support the minimum qualifications to run. I'm all for that. I support, a quick background check to make sure that, a candidate running for sheriff isn't a convicted felon and those types of things. But this whole premise that an unelected board that is, mind you, predominantly non-law enforcement, that this board is going to have the authority to determine who gets to stay in office and have it not actually revert back to a vote of the people, whether it's a recall or whatever it is. It is simply crippling the faith that the public is going to have in our democracy. And I'm not going to stop beating that drum, even if it's to my own demise, that this is going to undermine confidence in our elections.
Do you see them coming to their senses, or does it seem too far gone?
Well, with this one, I'm not quite sure. I've had really good conversations with lawmakers, but it also seems like one of those scenarios where they've kind of made their mind up a little bit. And I can guarantee you, Jason, there will be a lawsuit of some sort that's filed. So this is not done. This is going to cost taxpayers a lot of money. It's very likely going to go to our Supreme Court. And, this is one of those ones where I think this is making people uneasy across the board. When this bill passes, I don't want to hear any more about police accountability. I'm done. I'm over it. The sheriff will be the most accountable elected officials in this entire state, and it won't be close. There is no close second. The closest second might be a prosecutor who could have their bar removed through the Supreme Court, and that's a bunch of attorneys judging other attorneys, not what we have. So quite frankly, my position is that I'm going to be over this whole police accountability thing and that we need to keep going further. At what point in time can we maybe have a conversation about how little staffing there is in this state for police officers? Maybe that's a really good place to start focusing our time and effort, as opposed to continuing to adding bureaucratic level after bureaucratic level of oversight for one elected official, because no other elected official faces this level of scrutiny, period.
And on the staffing issue, I mean, it might be even more busy for you and so many others if another Democrat-backed bill is passed. They would, up the release to 33%, 33 and a third percent off of an offender's time in prison if they were, acting with good behavior. It would go up from 10%. We talked about it earlier in the week. It seems like they're continuously going out of their way to ensure that we can release people from prisons earlier than their sentences would otherwise allow. And most victims will tell you, especially on the really violent crimes, they're upset that the initial prison sentence isn't longer than it initially was. They're already light sentences.
We do have exceptionally light sentencing in this state. Exceptionally light.
So what I mean, if someone's out there and they're saying to themselves, these are now two bills that are obviously not just undemocratic, in both cases it harms public safety, what are people supposed to do?
Well, I mean, you have to voice your opinion to your elected officials. And I'm also curious if this is going to spread over to any other elected offices. And that's kind of the hypocritical part, is that lawmakers would never create this standard for themselves. They would never say, hey, listen, if a lawmaker gets a DUI, we're going to have this board of unelected people determine whether or not they get to stay in office. No, in fact, we've had lawmakers that have been busted for DUI and have exercised their privilege of not being able to be arrested during session. So a little hypocritical on that part, which I think it becomes frustrating for people. Like, I'm really interested in things, especially as I've kind of seasoned into my position as sheriff. I'm really interested in things that build confidence and trust in our institutional systems. And to me, this is just not one of them. This just isn't it. And yeah, I mean, you're right. If we're going to continue to release people out early, okay, that's great, but expect more police activity, right? Expect more police pursuits. Expect, some of these individuals are going to reoffend sooner than they would have. And so those are just things that you have to anticipate then. And I don't think it's going to be fair to come back to us and say, why is the crime rising?
Precisely. Again, we've been talking with Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders, who is running for re-election. Make sure you get out the vote while we still can when it comes to our sheriffs. Sheriff, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. Have a great day, Jason.
You as well. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show, back with some quick hits right after this.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Those of you interested in building your very own shop, horse arena, or farm equipment storage, Pac West Arenas will provide your engineering and a kit if needed. A kit includes step-by-step instructions, unlimited communication, and a one-time 4-hour site visit from an expert. If you also need engineering, Pac West Arenas will guarantee it in 10 business days. Consult an engineering and kit expert. Pac West Arenas, your one-stop shop for all your pole building needs. Go to pacwestarenas.com.
Jason Rantz here. Plumbing problems don't wait, and neither should you. CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical delivers fast, reliable plumbing services that you can trust, including drain cleaning, clog removal, repiping, and water heater installation and repair. For a limited time, save up to $200 on the installation of a brand new water heater, tankless or standard. Some restrictions apply. With over 40 years serving Snohomish, King, Skagit, and Island counties, CM Heating is an award-winning home services company with thousands of 5-star reviews from homeowners in Everett, Linwood, and the surrounding areas. Need help now? CM offers 24/7 availability and fast emergency response. There's no beating CM Heating. Book your free estimate for a brand new water heater at cmheating.com or call 425-259-0550 or cmheating.com. Contractor license CMHEAHL751LW. Plumbing license number CMHEAHL750LP.
With great reviews and friendly, smiling faces, General Transmission can repair your transmission for far less than a replacement. Need a second opinion? Trust General Transmission. Family owned and operated since 1988. GeneralTransmission.com.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer in Whatcom County. Join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is Lynn. She's always been active, maybe a little too active back in the day.
When I was 19 years old and immortal, I stripped out all my ligament and I had to have 6 knee surgeries, and that's on my right knee. And then my left knee finally gave out and had a torn meniscus.
Years of pain followed until she saw Dr. Mark Wagner at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
I'm 4 months out and I have no pain in my knees, and I have had knee pain my whole life. I have no concept of what it was like without pain. It's a miracle. I'm totally thrilled.
No pain, no limits.
Dr. Wagner gave me the green light to ski again this year. I'm like, that's incredible. So I'm just so excited.
After years of surgeries and setbacks, Lynn finally got her freedom back.
I think he saved my legs, so saved my knees, and gave me at least another 10, 15 years to do what I want to do.
If joint pain is holding you back, find out what stem cell therapy could do for you with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
If you need security for your event or business, contact Security Services Northwest. From armed and unarmed officers to advanced remote monitoring, they've been doing it all since 1977. Go to ssnwhq.com for Security Services Northwest.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
So let's talk about misplaced priorities. Let's talk about a state legislature that unanimously passed a law to get rid of those misplaced priorities. And of course, we're not talking about Washington. In this case, we're talking about Florida, where they just passed a law allowing high school football coaches to use their own money to help kids on their team if they so choose. Because apparently you needed permission to do this up until recently. Here's what happened. The Florida Senate passed what's being called the Teddy Bridgewater Act, as in the former NFL quarterback, Super Bowl champ, and apparently Miami Northwestern High School alum. He went back to his old high school to coach football. And he didn't do this for fame or clout or publicity. He did this to pour into kids who come from the same kind of community that he did, to give them an opportunity that many of them will never, ever, ever otherwise get. And like a lot of coaches in low-income areas, not just in Florida, but around the country, he wanted to help cover some basic expenses like meals and travel, equipment, and sometimes he would do it out of his own pocket. But Florida had rules that limited how much a coach could personally provide to student athletes. And on paper, the concern kind of makes sense. The concern was over recruiting advantages, improper benefits, what would happen if you've got just a super wealthy coach who would just give all sorts of dollars to his student athletes or her student athletes, and they would benefit unjustly. Oh, okay, I get that. But the problem is when you have a blanket policy like just don't spend money, you're not trusting a coach who's literally just trying to help his kids. You end up making it bureaucratic unnecessarily. And so thankfully in Florida, they fixed this. They passed the Teddy Bridgewater Act, and it allows high school coaches to use their own money to provide players without running afoul of the state athletic rules. In 2026, I guess we needed a law to clarify this. And, you know, I'll give a little bit of a pass in that there are some reasonable concerns that could have been made up until this point. But it certainly seems that we've built this world in which we've got, you know, NIL deals, the name, image, likeness deals in college that could be potentially worth millions of dollars. We've got travel ball industries that can look like corporate conventions. So it seems to me that the least of the problems is a coach in a low-income neighborhood quietly helping purchase cleats for kids who can't afford it. I feel like this is the least controversial issue. And Bridgewater, by the way, according to this article over at Mediaite, he didn't complain about the situation he found himself in. He didn't grandstand about wanting to spend money so, again, he can earn some street cred or something. He just kept showing up, and when the system made it harder than it should have been, lawmakers decided to step in unanimously. And that's worth noting, that this wasn't partisan, that this was in Florida, Republicans and Democrats coming together saying, yeah, if a coach wants to invest his own money into the kids who need help, who legitimately need help, the government shouldn't stand in the way. And it's a reminder, I think, of something really simple. Sometimes leadership isn't about federal programs or billion-dollar spending bills. Sometimes it's just getting out of the way of the people who are already doing what they believe to be the right thing. And Bridgewater could be anywhere right now. Broadcasting, he can be coaching at a higher level. He can be living comfortably off of his NFL earnings, which I assume he still has. But instead, he's back in his old neighborhood, and he's trying to give kids a shot. And the state finally decided not to treat generosity like some kind of compliance violation. And that should not be controversial. Thankfully, it's not. At least in this instance, common sense won out. Common sense ultimately also won out of a story of a supposed hate crime against a black professor near Virginia Tech, which never actually happened. 3 white teenagers were accused of the hate crime. Social media lit up at the time. The headlines at the time suggested some sort of racial harassment. And it was another one of those examples of racist white teens targeting black people, except it wasn't. According to the reporting, the teens in this narrative have been cleared of a hate crime allegation against them. After an investigation saw the police determined that there was no evidence that the boys targeted the professor because of race. And yet the kids had their reputations dragged through mud because of this initial complaint. And it was a Virginia Tech University professor who filed a criminal complaint. It ends up getting amplified by left-wing media. His name is Dr. Onwebiko Agozino. He's a professor of sociology. He describes himself as a, quote, scholar activist who values inclusive excellence and diversity with critical attention focused on the people of African descent and other marginalized groups around the world. He filed a complaint with police on the 10th of this month, so 10 days ago. Today's the 20th. After an incident where a group of white men blaring rap music that had some profane lyrics was coming from their truck that was stopped in front of his house as they were shoveling snow and ice out of the truck's bed. So they had a snowstorm. They tried to remove the snow and the ice from the truck bed, and they were playing music at the time. But because I guess it was rap music that had vulgar lyrics, which I'm presuming included the N-word based on the context of this story, the immediate position of this professor was that because he's black, that this was somehow targeted. And it was a story that activist groups decided to push, including the Indivisible organization. They wrote that New River Valley Indivisible, the local chapter, vehemently condemns the recent despicable act of racist intimidation and harassment that occurred in our community. Dr. Biko Agozino and his family were targeted at their home by a group of 8 white young men riding in 4 different trucks. The young white men parked in front of Dr. Agozino's home and unleashed a torrent of racial slurs, including the N-word, and threw ice bricks onto the property, blocking his driveway. This hateful assault was accompanied by the blaring of music, specifically Drake's Energy, in a calculated effort to terrorize and intimidate Biko and his family. And so they said this was a clear example of a hate crime being committed. They wanted criminal and civil action to be taken, except the police looked into this and said, yeah, this didn't happen. There was no evidence of a racist attack against the professor. They said there have been incorrect reports that this may have been targeted incident toward a specific residence or person based on racial bias. The Christiansburg Police Department does not tolerate discrimination, hate speech, or racial profiling within the town. Our investigation has found no evidence of criminal intent or racial bias. After several interviews, including third-party eyewitnesses and a detailed investigation, detectives found that a group of juveniles were attending an organized function at a home in the area. Before departure, 2 juveniles attempted to clear frozen snow and ice out of a truck bed, but were unable to completely remove due to the slope of the vehicle. Upon departure, the juveniles stopped at a flat spot on the street where a juvenile pushed out the remaining frozen ice and snow. This is just so ridiculous. And of course, the professor isn't giving up. In a statement to Fox News Digital, he argued that whether the juveniles, whom he called suspects, had criminal intent may be irrelevant. They said they investigated and identified the suspects. They claimed that they had no bad intent, and the police concluded that there was no evidence of a crime. I reminded the police that intent is only one element of a crime because reckless or unreasonable behavior that is threatening to anyone is considered a breach of the law, even if there's no intent to harm anyone. This is so ridiculous. These kids were blasted for something that they didn't even do. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. When your heat goes out or your AC stops working, you don't have time to wait. CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric, they've got award-winning technicians who can fix any heating or cooling breakdown, and they do it fast. And, by the way, they've been doing it for over 40 years across Snohomish, King, Skagit, and Island counties. For a limited time, get a $0 service call fee when you choose CM Heating for your heating or cooling repair. CM Heating offers 24/7 availability, fast emergency response, and thousands of 5-star reviews from homeowners in Everett, Linwood, and the surrounding areas. From quick fixes to the major repairs, there's no beating CM Heating. Book your next heating or cooling repair at cmheating.com. That's cmheating.com, or call 425-259-0550. 425-259-0550. Contractor license CMHEAHL 751LW.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and I could see it in the mirror. I could feel it in my clothing fit. I needed to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe not a ton, but definitely some. This opportunity came up, and I was skeptical. Would it really be worth putting in the work to actually get the results? I wasn't sure. So I did a phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. We talked through the whole thing, and Adam and I decided, you know what, let's go for it, let's commit. And with that commitment has come amazing outcomes. We have lost a combined 40-plus pounds and counting. There's a plan, you trust the process, you follow it, and the weight melts away. I can personally attest to how well this works. So find out for yourself. At the very least, set up a 15-minute phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. Go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com to find out more. eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. TurboTax helps you get your biggest refund, and then Credit Karma helps you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake 33.
He has alternatives. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump taking action after his so-called Liberation Day tariffs were struck down by the Supreme Court. He made this announcement earlier.
Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
That order has now been signed. Some of the items exempted include passenger vehicles, certain light trucks, and certain aerospace products. California Governor Gavin Newsom calling on the Trump administration to immediately issue refund checks with interest to the American families and businesses after the Supreme Court ruling. Meanwhile, New York Governor Kathy Hochul with praise for the High Court's ruling.
We support this decision and hope that we can continue to find ways to work together to drive down costs, not do the opposite, as we saw tariffs do in our state.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries called the Supreme Court ruling a crushing defeat for a wannabe king. Less than a month after the last one, another bomb cyclone set to slam the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic with what forecasters say could be the highest snowfall in years.
An updated forecast shows the storm will hit every major city along the I-95 corridor. Areas like Boston, Cape Cod, down to New York, Long Island, and the New Jersey shore are likely to get 12 to 18 inches of snow, with Philadelphia possibly getting up to a foot. And it's not just heavy snow. The storm's likely to bring powerful 50 to 60 mile-per-hour winds, which could lead to blizzard conditions.
Fox's Carmen Roberts. The U.S. military says it struck a suspected drug boat in the eastern Pacific Ocean, killing 3 men. A federal appeals court has cleared the way for a Louisiana law requiring poster-side displays of the 10 Commandments in public classrooms to take effect, lifting a block put in place by a lower court in 2024. America's listening to Fox News.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report. The major averages rising for the day and week after the Supreme Court ruled against President Trump's sweeping tariffs. However, President Trump will impose a temporary 10% global tariff under a different authority to replace those thrown out by the Supreme Court. Friday's tariff showdown boosting investor sentiment following weak fourth quarter GDP, with the government shutdown largely to blame, along with hotter than expected PCE inflation data for December. The Supreme Court decision fueling a rally in transportation shares and in tariff exposure exposed companies like furniture retailers and footwear companies. Shares of Amazon rose 2.5%. The e-commerce giant has already begun to see tariffs impact the price of certain items. The Dow up 231 points, the Nasdaq higher by 203, S&P 500 up 48. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
If you're over 40 and plan to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding gold and silver to their portfolios. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making.
SeattleRed.com.
Washington is a sanctuary state.
Local.
This was brought on by Democrats.
Conservative.
Democrats got all excited, high on their own supply.
Bold.
At least they can appreciate the president coming in with some type of help.
Finally, a website dedicated to local news in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest without the liberal spin.
This is going to be a major issue going forward.
Make it the first site you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
Oh, Jesus. The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show on this Tuesday afternoon. Seattle Red 770 AM, online at seattlered.com. We got a lot to get to. Stephen Colbert lied about so-called censorship from the Trump administration. CBS News is now coming out with a statement confirming that what was said was not true. We're going to get into that and so much more. But first, big local news. Washington's Senate passed the millionaire tax, which will have devastating effect on our economy. That is what's trending. Brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? Let's get political.
We have a 9.9% tax on income over $1 million. This bill passed the Senate. It goes over to the House where it's expected to pass. Then it goes to Bob Ferguson, who maybe will do some performance art in front of the press saying, well, you know, there's still some things I'd like to change about this. But ultimately, he's going to sign whatever it is that they give him. There's no doubt whatsoever that that's what's going to happen. And in the rare instance in which he vetoes it, it will be political because he knows there's a veto-proof majority in Olympia. And this is all choreographed between the governor's office and both the Senate and the House. And how do we know this? Actually, it's kind of simple. Because Bob Ferguson, you know how he previously said that as written, this particular millionaire tax doesn't do what I need it to do? Remember when he said that? He can't support it as written? Mm-hmm. His office wrote it. So he's lying. He's lying when he says he can't support it. And this is not a surprise. We knew that this was going to happen. The shock to me is the level of gaslighting and just flat out lying that's taking place. The Democrats, via their talking heads from the unions, have been out over the last week, and I think we brought this up last week, implying that the record number of Washingtonians who signed on to the con online, specifically to this bill, is being fueled by bots. There's like a bot army. There's no evidence of that whatsoever, no indication of that whatsoever, but they're saying it anyway. But again, we're not shocked that they passed this because they said from the beginning that this was all about raising the much needed revenue. Here's Liz Leveillette, the Democrat from Anacortes.
We are talking about more money than some people could spend in 10 lifetimes. And what we're doing it for is the greatest good because, Mr. President, the things that we invest in our communities
are the greatest good. What we spend your money on, it's the greatest good. Duh. Stop complaining. We know how to spend your money better than you know how to spend your own. And it's more than you need, she says. And again, you might be thinking she's talking about billionaires, by the way. She's talking about millionaires. And she's talking about just having more than $1 million as a household, remember. And she's not just talking about individual income that you're now spending or saving or giving away, whatever it is you're doing, investing. That's not what she's talking about. Think about it from the pass-through business perspective. A bunch of businesses, especially LLCs and sole proprietorship, like the smaller businesses or even mid-sized businesses, they on paper seem to be worth millions when the reality is, just because it's showing up on their personal income tax that way doesn't mean that's what they're actually making, because the money that they're using to then pay for their employees or for investments, et cetera, is coming from that lump sum. And so someone could be on paper getting $1 million, but their salary might be $125,000 or something. That's really what this is about. But remember, she knows more than you do about your own money.
The ability for our kids to go to quality public schools, the ability for everyone in Washington state to access medical care and the resources that they need, to have food security. These are the things that make us strong. These are the things that make our economy strong.
Except this doesn't make our economy strong. Quite the opposite. And I would say it would be one thing. It would be one thing if they didn't use this exact same line dozens and dozens and dozens of times over the course of just the last few years. We've had record number of investments into schooling, right? Record numbers of investment. More money going into public schools than we've ever had. In fact, around the country, I think we're near the top of the list of money spent per pupil. And yet test scores are going down. Kids are being pulled out of public schools left and right. And what's their response? Give us more money. You just said that, though. You said giving you money would lead to better results in public schools. Give us more money. You just didn't give us enough before, but this time it'll be enough. Well, what if we don't see the results? Well, then we didn't take enough. That is their argument. It's always their argument. Here's Senate Majority Leader Jamie Peterson.
There is no path for us to make the kinds of investments that we want and need to make in the public schools of Washington state without having the kind of revenue that this bill offers us the opportunity to have.
Does anyone actually believe that? Now, one thing he said there is correct. Then he added the need, but he really said want. There's no way that we can cover what we want to cover. That part's true. He's right. But that is a reflection of wanting to cover things that don't need to be covered. That is a choice. That is a choice. And by the way, we got new revenue projections. Weird how the revenue projections are always wrong early on to the benefit of the argument to tax more. But then when they're clarified, it's like, oh, the problem isn't quite as bad as it once was on paper. Weird how that works. Meanwhile, you got the Republicans doing what they could to push back. And of course, Perry Dozier, the Republican from Waitsburg, made the valid argument that we've heard before from folks on our side of the aisle on this, is that all you're doing in the name of affordability is making things less affordable.
It's not lowering property taxes. It's not lowering sales taxes. It's not lowering the cost of fuel. Nothing in this bill is for tax relief now. We're talking 3 years down the road. How do we get from here to there and survive? So if we go to bed and say the tax code's better now, it's not better for us now.
No, it's not. And of course, he's right about that. And yet every once in a while, you'll get some of the people on the left who will at least be a little bit more honest about what this is. So on the one hand, we're being told the only reason why we're pushing this millionaire tax is because we have to fund essential services, schools. We have to put money into affordable housing, into infrastructure, into all these different things, right? But then you've got Lisa Wellman, who, in between defending sex offenders, came out of hiding from underneath that disgusting rock of Mercer Island to say, oh, no, this is about evening out the wealth gap.
This is not about penalizing wealthy people.
What is a tax if not a penalty? Isn't that a financial penalty that's specific to a group of people? How is that not penalizing? We're only going to tax the quote-unquote wealthy. That's it.
It may not be about it, but that's what it's doing.
It's just so stupid.
Wealthy Washingtonians. It is simply asking for proportionality in our tax structure at a time when the gap between rich and poor has never been greater.
Oh, I want to vomit. That makes me vomit. Oh, I hate those kinds of just disingenuous arguments, especially coming from wealthy people like Lisa Wellman. You know, this whole, it's about proportionality. If it was about proportionality, then poor people would be paying more taxes. They use more than the wealthy in resources, right? Way more. They're not job creators. And I'm not saying that to dismiss or, chide low-income people, but that's the reality. The reality is that the wealthy person who lives on Mercer Island is contributing more to taxes than the low-income Washingtonian and is using far fewer resources. So, we give the proportionality. What are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense. And then at the same time, again, we desperately need this money to fund education, transportation, energy, housing, whatever. We're not doing it to punish. We're doing it to even it out. But also, according to Rebecca Saldana, the Democrat from Seattle, this doesn't even affect that many people.
This bill is not punishing success, but creating a system for those that are doing so well to be able to make sure that their gift is not just a one-time thing, but actual assistant change making.
Yeah, I don't know what that meant. Do you know what that meant?
No.
Oh, there were words, right? They were in English, and they were strung together in a way that indicated a sentence was uttered. But I don't know what she just said. It didn't make any sense. But again, she's using the whole line, we're not punishing people for their success. So just real quickly, what happens when you're more successful financially in Washington State? Do you pay a lot more in taxes now?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it is, in fact, punishing someone for their success.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. Chris Gildon, state senator, our friend from Puyallup.
If this bill passes today, future legislatures can easily come back and change the threshold from $1 million down to $500,000 to $250,000. They can apply it to anyone that they want to.
That's the goal. Shh. Don't ruin it for them. Come on, Chris. Don't ruin it. It's remarkable. It really is remarkable here. And the media pretends not to understand it. Democrats pretend it's not the reality. Republicans are the ones at least telling the truth here. This is more than a slippery slope. In fact, we frame it kind of in that way. It's a slippery slope. It's not really a slippery slope because the intent has always been to go after everybody else. This is step number 2 or 3 in going with the inevitable income tax that will hit everybody. And it's not going to go away. Now maybe I shouldn't, should I be brutally honest about this?
Sure.
Just like brutally honest to the point where people just are going to say, why even fight? Should I really do it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I should be that honest. I feel like if I'm that honest, it might discourage people.
Well, you should still be that honest. It's your job.
I know. I don't think I'm going to be that honest. I don't think I should.
Okay, fine.
Okay, you twisted my arm. So people are going to say, is there anything we can do? The truth is no. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to do something and speak up. You should. You should go on record and you should allow them to feel the political pressure. But the reality is this is 100% going to pass. And we can hope that the Washington Supreme Court does the right thing and rejects this clearly unconstitutional income tax, but we shouldn't hold our breath. The only thing that you can do is going to be in the long term. The one positive in all of this is, as I think it was, who did we previously say? Who was it? Dozier, who said it's going to take 3 years. So a lot can happen in 3 years, like some elections. I mean, if Trump allows us to have any, because, he's getting rid of all of our elections, according to left. All we have to do is get better people in office. It's a crazy concept that we actually all vote, but also get our friends and neighbors and family members to vote. If we do that, we can reverse course. It's not going to be easy, but that's really it's ultimately the only thing you can do. Anyone telling you otherwise right now is lying to you. That's the truth. They're well-intentioned because they don't want you to lose all hope. And I don't want you to lose all hope. But the reality is the only thing you can do to change this is in upcoming elections, make better choices and fight like hell politically to get our candidates into office. That's the only thing that will help. We have 3 years. 3 years. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in the media?
Unshockingly, Stephen Colbert's a lying liar who lies. We knew that going in. This morning, I saw when I got onto X a clip from James Tallarico, who is running for Senate in Texas. He's a Democrat who apparently did an interview with Stephen Colbert. Except that interview didn't air. And Stephen Colbert wanted you, and by the way, not just Stephen Colbert, left-wing media outlets did the exact same thing. They wanted you to think that the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, friend of the show, and Donald Trump censored CBS and Late Night, forcing them not to air the Tallarico interview. Now, they ended up posting the Tallarico interview in full on X and on YouTube. We'll get to that in a second, which is kind of weird for something to happen when it's been censored. But they wouldn't allow it on television. Donald Trump himself, Brendan Carr, they got onto a 3-way phone call with Colbert and said, you do not air this interview or else.
You know who is not one of my guests tonight?
Me. I'm never invited. I would do that show.
Really? I thought you had more self-respect than that.
I'm sorry. I'm Jason. Hi.
Oh, that's
self-respect. What are you, nuts?
Never mind. Yeah, never.
Do you know anyone else who hates themselves more than I hate myself?
No.
Everyone in radio is self-loathing. What is wrong with you?
That's Texas State Representative James Tallarico. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast. Then I was told in some uncertain terms that not only could I not have him on, I could not mention me not having him on. And because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this. You've probably heard. A bunch of seals in the background. So, you might have heard of this thing called the equal time rule, okay? It's an old FCC rule that applies only to radio and broadcast television, not cable or streaming, that says if a show has a candidate on during an election, they have to have all that candidate's opponents on as well.
That's not entirely what equal. He's generally, I guess, for 101 purposes, he's right, but that's not entirely.
He's talking to Stephen Colbert's audience.
I know, but fair enough.
It's the FCC's most time-honored rule right after no nipples at the Super Bowl.
Why do people laugh at
there's long been an exception for this rule, an exception for news interviews and talk show interviews with politicians.
That are bona fide news programs, which is an important piece. And here's why I give him a hard time on his pedestrian viewpoint. If I were to have, and this is a good example, let's pretend that the election was tomorrow because timelines matter. I can't remember what the exact amount. I think either 30 or 60 days before an election, these rules kick in. But let's say on the show today, we have State Senator Jim Braun. He is also running in Washington's 3rd congressional district. He's running against Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez and whoever the Democratic candidate is. If we were to have him on to talk about the campaign or just general political issues that would apply to the context of his race, equal time would kick in. Now, it doesn't mean I have to give Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez or the other opponent on the left an invitation to come on. But, and this happens to us all the time. It happens all the time. Sometimes in an annoying way because we're going to invite the person on anyway. But like, oh, you just interviewed so-and-so. They can reach out to us, not to me, they put them through my people. They reach out to Jackson and say, we'd like to come on. Sometimes they're specific and say, we'd like equal time. Other times they just put it in and we're supposed to know that this was equal time. We, under the equal time clause, have to let that person on and give a general similar amount of time. Now, if Jim Braun comes on,
John.
Did it again, John. As soon as I said Jim, why do I keep saying Jim? If John Braun comes on and he's talking about yesterday's millionaire tax, that's obviously part of a bona fide news coverage. That's not promoting his campaign, nor is the intent to promote his campaign. He's the Senate minority leader. Of course we're going to have him on. It would not trigger equal time. So that's why this matters. Now, what is Colbert having James Tallarico on for? It's only to promote the campaign. This is an entertainment show, not a bona fide news program. That's why this matters.
Now, that's crucial. How else were voters supposed to know back in '92 that Bill Clinton sucked at saxophone? But on January 21st of this year, a letter was released by FCC chairman and smug bowling pin Brendan Carr. In this letter, Carr said he was thinking about dropping the exception for talk shows because he said some of them were motivated by partisan purposes.
They are.
Well, sir, you're chairman of the FCC, so FCCU.
So he's making Brendan Carr's point. The lawyers came out about mid-afternoon today from CBS saying the Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview with James Tallarico. The show was provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for 2 other candidates, including Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how the equal time for other candidates could be fulfilled. The Late Show decided to present the interview through its YouTube channel with on-air promotion on the broadcast rather than potentially providing the equal time options. So 2 points. Number one, that statement means Stephen Colbert lied. That was a lie. He's not getting called out as a liar by left-wing media that decided intentionally to go with the Brendan Carr and Donald Trump censored us angle. They're just adding this new statement, but they're not calling out for what that was, which was a lie. Number two, the statement makes Brendan Carr's point. He didn't put on Jasmine Crockett or the other dude who's running and only would have to put them on if they requested. They probably would request, in fairness. I'm guessing they would. But they did not want to be in a position where they would give time to the other candidates. Why not? Why would you not want to? I get not wanting to give it to the third person who has zero shot at winning, which is ultimately why we don't like doing these kinds of interviews. I don't want to talk to I hate the equal time rule. I want to get rid of it, but it does exist. But who's going to turn down? Why would they say no to Jasmine Crockett? I mean, racism, sexism from Stephen Colbert. Why would they say no? She's a sitting member of Congress, right? She's an outspoken leader of the Democratic Party or one of their spokespeople. Why would you not want to have her on? Unless it was you didn't want to promote her campaign. That's the only reason. That is the only reason. So that statement ends up proving Brendan Carr's point that this is not an entertainment show. It's not an entertainment show. It hasn't been entertaining for a long time. They're trying to play it both ways. They're trying to skirt the rules. And this proves it. This proves it. It's so obvious. And by the way, what did we get from Tallarico? He was just pushing his campaign. He was pushing his campaign. And he said that Trump is worried he's going to flip the state blue.
Now, here's the thing. I don't usually say this to a guest, but if people are watching this right now, it's because they found us online on YouTube.
Where the equal time rule doesn't apply.
I did an act of the show that's on tonight explaining why. It's not the first time you've caused some drama. FCC opening probe into The View after appearance by Tallarico. Do you mean to cause trouble?
I think that Donald Trump is worried that we're about to flip Texas.
I 100% agree with that. The same way Beto O'Rourke was flipping Texas and Stacey Abrams was flipping Georgia.
And was it Colin Allred or whatever his name was?
Who was the woman who was going to beat Mitch McConnell in Kentucky?
Oh,
Amy,
yeah.
whatever her name is, the Army veteran or the Air Force, but whatever. Like, they have all these characters that they've created. Amy McGrath. They create these characters. They create this narrative. And then anything you do is, well, it's because they know we're going to win. And they never win. James Tallarico is not winning in Texas. Oh, my God. He might not even make it past Jasmine Crockett, although, in fairness, he should be able to make it. But it's like running against a sack of potatoes. If you can't beat that, what are you in politics for? 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. 1-800-465-8770. The Sunset Auto family wants you to know that every dealer in the country pays exactly the same for every vehicle from the factory to the penny. So if you're offered a lower price, make sure you're looking at that price because you're likely getting less for your trade-in or you're paying a higher interest rate. The difference isn't the car. It's what you get after you buy it. And that's why the Sunset Auto family keeps winning and why customers keep choosing them. SunsetAutoFamily.com. When we come back, AOC went to Munich for a conference she read about on Wikipedia, and it did not go well, like at all. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical, there's no beating CM Heating.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. I'm here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. What is something someone can do right now to protect themselves from being on the wrong side of the IRS?
It's really pretty simple, and that is do it right. File on time and pay on time. Yet things do get in the way, like we know. And if you have situations where you're feeling a little concerned about what's in your tax return, get some professional help. And there is a group or a class of people that just think they can put anything they want in their tax return, and they think they are being smarter than the government. It's kind of like the person, the narcissist that thinks they're smarter than everybody else and they're going to get away with it. They will maybe for a while, but the time will come. There will be a day of reckoning.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. None Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Retirement is supposed to be a time of rest and relaxation. But every week I get calls from seniors who are stressed out because their cost of living keeps going up. They love their home and they want to stay in it, but they're struggling with rising property taxes, monthly bills, and monthly mortgage payments if they have one. Hi, I'm Steve Teitler, owner of Best Mortgage, a local family-owned company. I specialize in the reverse mortgage, which allows seniors to tap into your home equity for tax-free cash to pay off your mortgage, pay off debts, and maybe put some extra money in the bank. A reverse mortgage is a great option for some people, but it's not right for everyone. So give me a call and you'll talk directly to me in person or over the phone for honest advice you can trust. Search for Best Mortgage on the web or call us at 425-649-6000. You'll talk to me, not an AI robot. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You pledged your life to serve. You made sacrifices, lost loved ones. At VA, we don't see the falls you've taken. We see the 1,000 times you've stood back up. We embrace your uniqueness and won't trivialize your hardships. We can't promise to heal all wounds or wash away all trauma, but we do see a path forward. We see all veterans. We see you. Learn how treatment works and recovery is possible. Visit maketheconnection.net.
To the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Friday and over the weekend, there was the Munich Security Conference. Now, let me be blunt about what that is. Not important to you. The average person, the average voter, the average politician does not care about the Munich Security Conference. All it is a place for someone to go to collect some video clips of them talking about foreign relations, international relations, so that they can then run for president and say they've got some bona fides when it comes to international issues. That's all. If you don't have foreign policy chops, you go there so you can, quote unquote, prove that you have foreign policy chops. If you do, you go there to highlight them. That's it. And we've seen over the last several decades, I think they've been doing it for 20 years. I don't even know how long they've been doing it. We've seen sometimes governors show up and they do a good job. Sometimes members of Congress show up and they bomb. Sometimes presidents show up and they bomb, or vice presidents or secretaries of state, and they do amazing. It's always kind of hit or miss. But to the average person, it does not matter. So why would we talk about it? Because AOC humiliated herself, and that's just funny. And two, because this does get used by these candidates who run for president, pushing it to the media to give off the impression that they know what it is they're talking about when they don't. Now, Republicans and Democrats can fall victims to this bombing, and Republicans and Democrats can show and really do well. Marco Rubio absolutely killed it, or as the kids say, he slayed it. He slayed. He was, hold on, wait, he was fire.
Yeah, that's good.
He was fire. And he really was. I listened because I was on last night, News Nation, to talk about this, and I'd only seen like a couple clips. And so I watched it beforehand, and it was really good. Like, he gave a really good speech defending Western culture that upset AOC apparently, but this was a big speech to defend Western culture and ideals and promote cultural pride, regardless of where it is you are, with the point of wanting to ensure that we have borders. That was it. It was all about pushing back against the AOC-style view of open borders.
For the United States and Europe, we belong together. America was founded 250 years ago, but the roots began here on this continent long before. The men who settled and built the nation of my birth arrived on our shores carrying the memories and the traditions and the Christian faith of their ancestors as a sacred inheritance, an unbreakable link between the old world and the new. We are part of one civilization, Western civilization. We are bound to one another by the deepest bonds that nations could share, forged by centuries of shared history, Christian faith, culture, heritage, language, ancestry, and the sacrifices our forefathers made together for the common civilization to which we have fallen heir.
I'm not going to play a ton of clips. It was very good. You can find it online. AOC showed up because she's running for president, or at a bare minimum, she's thinking about running for president. She has zero understanding or knowledge of international issues. Zero. She's a dum-dum when it comes to this sort of stuff. Now, you can argue she's a dum-dum generally, but she's on brand. She's likable to the left. She understands the progressive socialist ideals, and she knows how to present them. She's very similar to Mamdani. She's better than Mamdani, I think. Not I don't think as charismatic, but people think that she knows how to use Twitter or Instagram. So she didn't give a speech. She was on a panel. She ended up getting on one panel. Then she did like it wasn't a one-on-one interview per se, but she was doing more of a one-on-one style type of interview later on. And if you're going to talk about international issues and national security and foreign policy from the U.S. perspective, and maybe thinking of what kind of questions you might get, do you think you would prep for China?
Probably.
Like, that would be the number one thing, or number one or number two, right? You can probably say we're going to get an equal number of questions about China and Russia, Ukraine. And then even you can throw in Israel, but she knows her talking points. Israel bad, Hamas good. The other stuff, the reporting was that she has spent months prepping for this. Months. I don't know what the prep was. It wasn't very good, because listen to this.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
This is a softball question. Jackson could answer. Duncan could answer this question. This is a softball question.
I think that this is such a, I think that.
Are you thinking?
This is a,
oh God, no. Kamala.
This is, of course, a very long-standing
oh my God.
policy of the United States.
Thank you. Yeah,
and I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point, and we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
So she managed not only to completely botch that, she didn't even answer. It was a 43-second non-answer answer in which all she would have to do is say, yes, but we don't want to get to that point.
She was buffering, the little hourglass thing.
Something happened, like there was something happening on the wiring. Just wasn't, that's bad. That's real, and that's an easy, this is a legitimately easy question. The answer is yes, of course, we will defend Taiwan. However, we want to make sure that we never have to get to that point. I just answered that question in 4 seconds. And I'm nowhere near as dumb as she is.
Especially since she's not even the president, so she can just say whatever. And it
exactly.
She can commit to saying, yes, of course we will. And it doesn't have like any weight, so it doesn't matter.
But I think part of the calculation there is, while that would be the right answer, would that not upset the progressive base? They don't want you going after China. China's the only communist country that they can pretend is a success. So they don't want you criticizing China at all. Now, people have obviously compared AOC's, horrible response and responses to the brilliant speech by Marco Rubio. And I will note, Democrats and Republicans have been criticizing AOC and celebrating Marco Rubio. I mean, even CNN, I saw a lot of coverage of AOC's Kamala Harris style moment, but also I saw Democrats on CNN praising, to a degree, Marco Rubio. So this has been pretty bipartisan. Marco Rubio makes a point about, again, the culture of I don't think we pulled the clip of him talking about the horses, did we?
No.
So he makes a general statement of Spain introducing, the concept of cowboys in the United States. Essentially, he was much more artful than I am. I don't know a whole lot about the introduction of the horse to the United States. I generally know where it came from. Let us listen to a remarkable and very ignorant response to the Marco Rubio speech by AOC.
Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture.
Which, by the way, she says as an insult. The rest of us are like, well, yeah, yes, it was. Thank you for pointing that out. But why are you not celebrating? You see, Western culture is good. Otherwise, we get Hamas. Western culture is good. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on a stage as a woman talking directly to a bunch of important elitists. You wouldn't be allowed to show your face or your hair.
My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word.
What word would they like to have? What are you thinking they're going to say? You think the slaves said we brought cowboys to the U.S.? What is she talking about? Spain brought horses to this continent. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. What is she talking about? Are we missing something that she meant?
I was very confused.
It's a confusing point, unless she didn't understand really what Marco Rubio was saying. Now, was that the one only moment where she came off as a giant dum-dum?
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example.
I love this, by the way. She's got the Brooklyn accent the entire time until it's Venezuela, Maduro. Everything else comes with the New York, Brooklyn accent, which is already fake, by the way, except for Maduro, Venezuela.
It is not a. It is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator.
So Venezuela is not below the equator. It's above it. Again, now perhaps she didn't know, and maybe the average person wouldn't know the answer to that. I believe that. I think I can go outside right now, talk to 10 random Seattleites, and no one would truly know. They might guess correct, but no one's, hey, dummy, I know where the equator is. It's called Ecuador. Like, we get one of those kind of responses, but fine. This was a practice line.
Mm-hmm.
This was a scripted moment for her.
I'm still not even sure, what point she thought she was making either. I don't think anyone's making the case that it would be more or less justified what we did in Venezuela based off of where it is in relation to the equator.
I think what she's trying to say isn't even about the equator. I think she meant south of the border. And I think she meant literally everything beneath us in North America and South America. Anything quite literally from Mexico south. I think what she's trying to say was we're doing this because they're Latino or Hispanic or brown-skinned or whatever. That's what I think she meant. Because making the equator argument, first of all, how much of South America is north of the equator? Almost half of it, right? I mean, I think the majority of the population.
I mean, several countries are.
Densely populated countries.
Yeah.
Right? So even that argument does. That's why I think she means south of the border, and she did not know she was talking about Venezuela, and she thought, I think, that it was just a city in Mexico. Is that possible?
Possible, yeah.
And do you think that perhaps it hurts your argument when you're trying to make that when the speech was delivered by Marco Rubio?
Well, it could be Italian, you know.
Marco Rubio. It's not good. Scott Jennings had a field day.
This Munich Security Conference put on full blast the fact that we've only got one adult political party in the United States right now, and it's the Republican Party. Marco Rubio gave the speech of a lifetime over there. He laid out a clear foreign policy vision that defends Western values and Western civilization. And the brightest Democrat over there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, crapped the bed, okay? She wants to be president, she wants to run, and she's one of the most popular Democrats and gave one of the most embarrassing performances you could possibly do. Gretchen Whitmer, one of the governors that Bakari is touting, said she knows even less about foreign policy than AOC, and Gavin Newsom has repeatedly embarrassed himself every time he's gone to one of these international conferences, whether it was Davos a few weeks ago or Munich. He can't even rebuild a single house in the Palisades in Los Angeles. In California, people are running out of there like crazy right now. The bottom line is this. These international conferences have been a disaster for Dems.
They've been really bad. Scott Jennings, by the way, will have a lot more to say about this on his show tonight, 8 to 10 p.m. right here on Seattle Red 770 AM. Our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn, understands the pressure that comes from owing money to the IRS. Don't let that pressure build. Call Nunn Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. Google NUNN if you owe money to the IRS. NUNN. Nunn Better Tax Resolution. When we come back, oh, God. We're going to be reminded of why we're still not entirely safe while on a plane, which is not what I want to hear getting on a plane in a couple weeks again. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Remember that? You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Bring your visions to life with smart business buying tools and technology from Amazon Business. From fast, free shipping to in-depth buying insights and automated purchase approvals, we deliver everything you need to achieve your goals. Go to AmazonBusiness.com for support.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Nick, did you know this is called quit time? Did you know what that is?
I do not know.
That means right about this time of the year, people quit their New Year's resolutions.
Oh, kind of like last year.
Okay, never mind. The important thing is that both of us made a New Year's resolution that we would take better care of ourselves for each other. And we're holding to that.
We are not flaming out because...
Longevity Medical Clinic. So we get the support of Longevity. We told them what our goals were, and they're like, absolutely, we'll get you in line. So they support me, they support you, and then as a couple, they're making us accountable for the decisions we make. So we're not going to be quitting on these things. I can't remember what your New Year's resolution was around the house.
My New Year's resolution around the house was that I was going to try to get you to start putting things away.
And I was going to get you to actually learn how to cook a piece of chicken.
Oh, well, that's for next year.
Okay, fine. Either way, we've got a team behind us. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
There's no championship league for small business owners. But if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This is Ricky Rubio, point guard for the Phoenix Suns.
And I'm Holly Robinson Peete, actor and along with Ricky, ambassador for Delivering Jobs. We know that a job is empowering and instills confidence. Yet 81% of adults with developmental differences don't have a paid job, even though companies that employ people with differences report better morale and higher productivity.
There are 6.5 million people in the U.S. with an intellectual or developmental difference such as autism.
And now, thanks to Autism Speaks, Best Buddies, the Holly Ride Foundation, and Special Olympics, there has never been more opportunity to improve hiring practices and build a more inclusive workforce. Join me, Ricky Rubio, and these amazing organizations in supporting and creating pathways to 1 million employment and leadership opportunities for this talented community.
Visit deliveringjobs.org to learn more.
That's deliveringjobs.org.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope everyone had a wonderful long weekend. I now am in favor of a 4-day work week. If I didn't have to work at all or just at my own pace, I'd probably, for me, not for you, just so we're all clear. It was glorious yesterday, especially because it was nice. It was cold, but it was really nice out. And so I just spent the day I got a dog. I don't think we talked about this yet.
Really?
In 2024, it's weird I'd go this long without mentioning that. There was a moment, actually kind of upset about this. I was walking him. 2 people recognized him. The first person that I saw first recognized me and said, "Oh, who's this guy? D'Artagnan." I said, "Oh, that's D'Artagnan." It was like as if I'm walking another dog. But the second time someone spotted me and said, "Look at D'Artagnan," and then said my name. We're not doing that. I'm the celebrity here, not the dog, to be clear.
He's upstaging you.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. And there was a lot of resentment last night between me and D'Artagnan when we got home after the second incident, which is weird that it happened in quick succession.
How could
like that.
two such large egos fit in one apartment?
It's unbelievable. So FAA is now ordering airlines to certify their merit-based hiring practices as part of the campaign from this administration to get rid of all the DEI nonsense. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, made this announcement on Friday, saying airlines that don't formally commit to merit-based hiring will be subject to an FAA investigation. Love this. I've got a little bit of a problem. What about all the people that were hired to fly planes during the time in which we did not require a merit-based system for hiring pilots? I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's true. And most people will agree with me, even on the left, but they're not going to say anything. I've had several times, only weirdly on my flight to Vegas, so the pilots must be on this particular route. I've had a transgender female pilot and a female pilot. There was one time where I had a female pilot or a female co-pilot and the transgender pilot. I've never been more scared to be in a plane before. It's not their fault. It's not their fault at all. The rides were fine. It was a typical Seattle to Vegas flight. But I was terrified the entire time. And for anyone who gets upset with me acknowledging that, you should be upset with the left, who focused on ideology and identity more than they did about merit. Because then instead of saying, we've got the most qualified pilot who happens to be whatever, like, look, we have a trans pilot. And it made me think that the only reason you hired this person is the only reason you chose Kamala Harris. Checked off some boxes. The left did that. And I said from the beginning, it's demeaning when you treat people like tokens. Tokenizing is the worst thing you can do. And it's unfair. Sometimes someone is only chosen because of the boxes they check off. Again, Kamala Harris is a perfect example of that. Ketanji Brown Jackson, frankly, is a perfect example of that. Now, in this case, the trans pilot and the female pilot, I'm presuming they were really good because, hey, I made it in one piece and there were no issues. But I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't completely nervous. We know that some people were hired, not just in the world of aviation, just across the board, simply because they happen to be Jewish or trans or gay or black or Latino or probably not Asian, because Asians and whites are treated exactly the same. And frankly, not even Jews. We were just dismissed. But the problem when you create a culture that focuses on identity, we go away from the whole merit-based system. And I want to think that all jobs are best chosen based on merit, but the reality is not all jobs are based on merit, and that's okay, right? Fine. There's some jobs that definitely should be based on merit. And if I go in and you say, you need to have emergency brain surgery, I'm like, okay, who do we get to do the surgery? Well, I've got a trans doctor. I was like, are they good? They're a trans doctor. But are they the best? It's a trans doctor. No, but are they the best at what they do? They're the best trans doctor we have. But that it has to be more than that. I don't care what their identity is, as long as it comes with they happen to be X, Y, and Z. And that doesn't seem unreasonable to me. And for the administration to implement a rule like this, awesome. Can you go back the last 4 years and just double check and put on a list to make sure there wasn't someone who slipped through the cracks and got through when they shouldn't have? If anything, under the Biden administration, the people who slip through the cracks are the really highly talented ones instead of the tokens. It does such a disservice to people. And I felt guilty having that feeling to a degree, because I wouldn't want someone to hold that view on me. Like, oh, he only got the job because he's a gay Jew or a gay Jew, a Jew gay. I wouldn't want them to think that, which is why we don't lead with that all the, like, I don't need to be judged based on that. I'm not going to check that off of an application somewhere unless it gets me a tax break, I suppose I'll go, or extra grant money, then I'll definitely lean into that. But it's just so condescending, and I wish they would stop doing that. They're doing a bigger disservice to the folks they pretend to support. They're the ones who are harmed the most out of this. And the funny thing is, I've taken the trans pilot flight twice. I was equally nervous both times. You can look at the text messages.
Was it the same person?
It was the same person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But again, I started to think to myself, well, what if the first time it was the co-pilot who helped save the day? Or what if it was the computer system?
Beginner's luck.
Yeah, just something like that. The whole time I was thinking that. And ironically, I was doing the whole, so I totally feel the same way, by the way, of someone who's like uber young. I want some grays. I got to see gray hair. I want to see you've got some miles.
I want the Sully Sullenberger mustache.
Yes, 100%, including on the woman. Like, you give me that, I'm good. And the trans pilot, she was older, clearly old, not like elderly, but older, to my point where I was thinking, well, probably when she got through, she was identifying as a male, and was in fact qualified. Does that make me a bad person? It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Have you ever wondered how to use your tax return to reduce future taxes? Madrona Financial's 1040 Treasure Hunt is a free hands-on workshop that shows you how to analyze your return and uncover tax savings opportunities. This free event is happening March 3rd at 6 p.m. at Madrona's Kirkland office. RSVP at 833-673-7373 or visit madronafinancial.com/events to reserve your spot today.
This is a paid advertisement. Investments involve risk. See full disclosures at madronafinancial.com.
You know, retirement is supposed to be a time of rest and relaxation. But every week I get calls from seniors who are stressed out because their cost of living keeps going up. They love their home and they want to stay in it, but they're struggling with rising property taxes, monthly bills, and monthly mortgage payments if they have one. Hi, I'm Steve Teitler, owner of Best Mortgage, a local family-owned company. I specialize in the reverse mortgage, which allows seniors to tap into your home equity for tax-free cash to pay off your mortgage, pay off debts, and maybe put some extra money in the bank. A reverse mortgage is a great option for some people, but it's not right for everyone. So give me a call and you'll talk directly to me in person or over the phone for honest advice you can trust. Search for Best Mortgage on the web or call us at 425-649-6000. You'll talk to me, not an AI robot. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Lewis County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Is your heating bill too high? That's an All Red emergency. Go to trustallred.com to discover how a new high-efficiency heat pump could cut your energy costs 10, 20, 30% or more. And with rebates and programs available, now is a great time to save big. So you'll be warm and snug in the winter and cool and comfy in the summer. Go to trustallred.com. That's trustallred.com today, because if it's all red, it's all right.
Every season is a little bit different here in Washington, but I'll tell you what, the amount of rain never seems to change in the winter, and we have sure gotten a ton of it this season. All that rain, all that water, it's all got to go somewhere. And if it makes its way into your crawl space, that's when it can create all sorts of problems, including real structural damage, which could really affect your home. But more importantly, for the health of your family, the water in that crawl space could create toxic mold, and that has serious health repercussions. Thankfully, we have Crawl Pros. They can come in and keep your crawl space dry, install a sump pump and drainage, and reroute that water back out and away from your home. They'll also take care of
Seattle
any
Red
mold.
on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 30.